Chapter 1572. Kid, you're lucky, but you won't be so lucky in the competition. I'll cripple you in front of everyone. That's what you get for messing with us. Kid, you're dead meat. Just you wait. A few threatening voices were heard. Then the three of them ignored Lin Xian and looked at the sky. Lin Xian sneered and shook his head. He did not care about these three arrogant guys at all. No matter how strong they were only slightly stronger than Fong Li compared to a true core disciple like Lu Chao. They were a far cry. He could even kill Lu Chao, let alone these three inner sect disciples. He smirked and looked up at the sky as well. There were 5 or 6 rainbows in the sky. They were very fast and arrived above Baiyun Mountain in the blink of an eye. Then they appeared on the square in a flash. 2 of them were elders in robes. Their hair and beards were white, and they were full of power. The other 3 were young people, 2 men and 1 woman. The woman was Chuyu. The other 2 young people were also handsome, and they were surrounded by a bright light. Without a doubt, they were all core disciples. Greetings, elders, all the inner sect disciples shouted at the front. Then they began to discuss quickly. Most of them looked at Chuyu and the other 2. When the top 10 inner sect disciples saw Chuyu and the others, their eyes turned red, and they trembled with excitement. Idols, these were their idols. At the same time, they were extremely excited because after today, one of them would become a core disciple like a carp leaping through the dragon gate. They would be above all the other inner sect disciples. Thinking of this, they were excited. Chuyu looked in Lin Xian's direction and revealed a charming smile. Suddenly, the inner sect disciples went crazy. They had never seen such a beautiful smile before. So beautiful, everyone exclaimed. I wonder who that fairy is smiling at. Needless to say, it must be one of the top 10 inner sect disciples. The others have no chance. The top 10 inner sect disciples were also excited, and their eyes turned red. They thought that Chuyu was smiling at them. However, only Lin Xian understood that Chuyu was smiling at him. Thus, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly as he smiled and nodded in response. Of course, no one was paying attention to Lin Xian. Otherwise, his actions would cause everyone to go crazy again. Then, under the instructions of the 2 elders, everyone retreated to the back, leaving enough space. At the center of the square, there was a 300-meter-long spirit formation stage that was shining with countless rays of light. All of a sudden, the spiritual energy in the surroundings began to surge violently and converge in this direction. This was a defensive array formation. Naturally, it was meant to protect White Cloud Mountain. Otherwise, with the means of these genius disciples, they would probably be able to destroy this mountain with a raise of their hand. The rules of the competition were very simple. Those who lost 3 or more matches in a row would be directly eliminated. Only when the final 3 were chosen would the final battle begin. Now, let the core disciple selection begin. A dignified voice rang out like a clap of thunder, spreading in all directions. Suddenly, the entire square quieted down. Everyone widened their eyes and looked ahead carefully. As for the inner sect genius disciples, they all held their breaths. They knew that it was time to test them. In front of them, on the White Cloud Square, the spirit formation stage flashed. Under the feet of Lin Xian and the other 10, there were also circles of light that flickered. When 2 of the circles lit up, it would be the time for the 2 to fight. This was a random selection. No one could tamper with it. Soon, the light flickered and the circles under the feet of 2 people lit up. Then, the 2 of them swayed and arrived at the spirit formation stage. One of the 2 young men was ranked 9th, Ding Li, and the other was ranked 7th, the arrogant Wu Kun. Humph, Ding Li, you're no match for me. Hurry up and back off before you embarrass yourself. Humph, we'll only know if I can beat you after we fight. Ding Li, ranked 9th, gritted his teeth. Although his ranking was lower than Wu Kuan's, he would not admit defeat. Humph, you're really stubborn. Since that's the case, I'll teach you a lesson. Wu Kuan sneered and quickly attacked. The two of them exchanged 50 moves. Ding Li, ranked 9th, was hit by Wu Kuan's punch and flew backward while vomiting blood. Humph, I told you you're no match for me. Wu Kuan defeated his opponent and looked very arrogant. At the same time, he turned his eyes and stared at Lin Xian. Kid, when you come up later, you'll end up worse than him. Sensing that aura, the surrounding disciples all trembled. Lin Xian, on the other hand, completely ignored the other party. Of course, this was just a small interlude. Next, the competition proceeded quickly. These disciples were the top geniuses of the inner sect. Each of them was extremely terrifying. Their fights were very exciting. Next, it was the young man named Yang Fan's turn. He was more powerful than Wu Kuan, so he defeated his opponent in 30 moves. Qi Yu, Luo Yuan, and Luoshi, who were ranked in the top 3, were even more powerful. They defeated their opponents in 10 moves. The 3 of them formed the first echelon and were above the rest. However, at this moment, a light flashed under Lin Xian's feet. Is it my turn? Lin Xian whispered. Then his body flickered, and he appeared in the arena in front of him. Ha ha, my luck is too good. I can't believe I've met an ant. This battle would be as easy as blowing off dust. At the same time, an arrogant laugh was heard. Then, a figure flew forward. Lin Xian's opponent was one of the arrogant young men, Qing Feng. He was ranked 10th and was very nervous. He was afraid that he would not be able to pass the first round. However, it seemed that his luck was too good. It was his first time meeting a newcomer who had just entered the inner sect. This was undoubtedly great news for him. Seeing this, the others also exclaimed, while the few inner court geniuses whispered to each other. Qing Feng was really lucky. It seemed that he could survive the first round. Yes, that kid is so weak. He could probably send him flying with one slap. What a pity. It seems that I don't have to do anything. Wu Kuan sneered. But it was good. Qing Feng was enough to deal with that kid. At the same time, he did not forget to remind Qing Feng, don't be soft. Teach this kid a lesson. Don't worry, Brother Wu. I know what to do. In the arena, Qing Feng replied. Then he looked at Lin Xian and said coldly, Kid, how is it? You didn't expect this, did you? It's your misfortune to have met me. However, it's too late for you to beg for mercy now. I'll teach you a lesson in front of everyone. I'll let you know that ants are not allowed to come here. Then he revealed a hideous smile. Chapter 1573. The others also laughed because no one was optimistic about Lin Xian. A 2-star king and a 3-star king were not on the same level. The outcome would be decided in one move. The surrounding inner sect disciples also looked on with a mocking expression. Even the 2 core disciples who came frowned. They could not imagine how a 2-star king could participate in such a competition. However, the 2 elders asked in a low voice, Is this the person you recommended? Can he really do it? He's only a 2-star king. Don't worry, elders. There will be no problem. Chuyu stood up with a smile. The 2 elders nodded and did not say anything. However, their eyes were filled with disbelief. Lin Xian said coldly when he heard his opponent's clamor from the battle array arena, You'll pay for your cheap mouth. You're courting death. Qing Feng roared in anger. His 5 fingers turned into claws and grabbed at Lin Xian. The horrifying palm extended like a 5-fingered mountain and shrouded Lin Xian with great speed. Lin Xian snorted. His eyes shone with a cold light. He clenched his fist and punched. Boom. The punch was extremely terrifying. It was as bright as the sun, and the entire void was burning. Bang! An earth-shattering sound was heard as the 2 palms collided. The entire space shattered. Crack! Crack! Ah! A scream was heard, followed by the sound of bones breaking. Then, a figure was sent flying. Humph! The outcome has been decided. I've said that Lin Xian can't do it. A 2-star king. How dare he go up with such strength? He's courting death. The surrounding disciples were discussing. As for the genius martial artists in the top 10, they were all sneering at him. It's over so soon? What a piece of trash. Wu Kun said coldly, it seems that I won't have a chance to fight. On the other side, Yang Fan was also disdainful. The others mocked as well. However, they were all stunned in the next moment. Yang Fan and Wu Kun widened their eyes as if they had seen a ghost. The surrounding inner disciples also exclaimed, "What? This is impossible." It turned out that the light above the array stage had already disappeared, revealing the scene inside. Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back. His expression was calm. Beside him, Qing Feng was holding his arm and half kneeling on the ground. His expression was exceptionally sinister. Blood was still flowing on the ground. Only now did they realize that the one who was screaming was not Lin Xian, but Qing Feng. But how was that possible? Everyone was stunned, not daring to believe it. That was Qing Feng. He was a genius disciple ranked in the top 10 of the inner sanctum, and he had even reached the late stage of 3-star king realm. This strength could be said to be incomparably terrifying. However, Lin Xian was only a 2-star king who had just entered the inner court. How could such a person win? For a moment, everyone was stunned on the spot. On the opposite side, Qing Feng was half kneeling on the ground. He was also panicking. He shook his head frantically. Impossible. Damn it. This is impossible. I don't believe it. How did you injure me? He could not believe it at all. He thought that he had been hit by an illusion. However, the pain that came from his palm made him realize that this was not an illusion, nor was it a dream. It was real. He was injured by a 2-star king. He was injured by a punch. Humph! I've said that you'll pay for your foul mouth. This is just the beginning. Lin Xian snorted coldly, then took a step forward. Suddenly, light shone under his feet, forming a sword ray. In an instant, Lin Xian appeared in front of his opponent. So fast. Seeing this scene, everyone cried out in surprise because that speed shocked them. Even the ordinary inner court disciples couldn't catch Lin Xian's trajectory at all. Even the top 10 sky prides of the inner sect were frowning. On the array stage, Qing Feng's expression changed drastically. He screamed in horror, "What are you trying to do?" Smack. However, what answered him was a slap. This slap landed on his opponent's face. Immediately, all of his teeth were smashed and blood splattered in the air. In an instant, Qing Feng's face became swollen. It was like a pig's head. However, Lin Xian did not let him go. He waved his palm continuously. Suddenly, the crisp sound of a slap echoed throughout the entire valley. The 10th slap, Qing Feng was directly sent flying. He crashed to the side, creating a huge crater. His face was unrecognizable. His body kept twitching. He had suffered severe internal injuries. In the end, he spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. Shock. Absolute shock. For a moment, the hundreds of thousands of disciples in the white cloud square were silent. Everyone was stunned. Lin Xian was weak. Trash? Did he get in through the back door? Everyone's mouth twitched. They felt that their faces were swollen from the slaps. If such a person was trash, then no one in the inner sect could be considered a genius. This was totally beating up the top 10 geniuses in the inner sect. However, they still could not believe it. Lin Xian was only a 2-star king. How could such a battle be possible? Even the 2 elders were astonished. Now they knew why Chu Yu had such a confident smile. Lin Xian was definitely not trash. He was a genius, a peerless genius. He had even surpassed most of the disciples in the Danzong, and could compete with the geniuses in the sacred ground. Only the geniuses in the sacred ground, or the disciples of the clan of the ancients, could beat up a 2-star king. However, they did not expect such a person to appear in the Dawn Zone. We must train this person well. The 2 elders made up their minds. Beside them, the other 2 core disciples also looked serious. They wanted to watch a show, but they did not expect to see such a shocking scene. In the next moment, they stared at Lin Xian. Their eyes were shining. The inner sect geniuses were even more shocked. Their mouths were wide open in disbelief. Wu Kuan and Yang Fan's faces were terrifyingly gloomy. They did not expect that the ant they looked down on was a giant dragon. He was even more terrifying than them. Damn it! How can he be so powerful? The 2 of them gritted their teeth. After Lin Xian sent Qing Feng flying, he swayed and came back again. However, he stared at Wu Kuan and Yang Kuan. Don't worry, you 2 can't run away. I'll deal with you personally later, Lin Xian said coldly. You're courting death. How dare you? The 2 of them were furious. Kid, don't be too arrogant. You may be strong, but so what? Qing Feng is only the 10th inner disciple. He's nothing compared to us. That's right. Just you wait. I'll definitely kill you in the battle later. Chapter 1574. The 2 of them swore that they would defeat their opponent in the battle. Moreover, they had to severely injure their opponent, preferably cripple him. Only then would they be able to prevent future troubles. However, Lin Xian snorted coldly and ignored the 2 of them. There was no need to say anything now. He would just meet them in the battle arena. He would not stop until he slapped his opponent's face until it was swollen. Next, the competition continued. Another genius went up to fight. Soon, the crowd exclaimed again. This time, it was Qiyu. Qiyu, the number 1 inner sect disciple, was recognized as the strongest inner sect disciple. He had a high chance of becoming a core disciple. Now that he went up, he attracted a lot of attention. Even Lin Xian squinted his eyes and looked carefully. A figure appeared in front of him. He was burly, had a cold expression, and had a valiant aura. He was like a god of war as he strode forward. Opposite him was a similarly fierce young man. His eyes were like lightning, and he was also very fierce. He was Gua Xiaotian, ranked 5th. I didn't expect that my opponent would be you. Gua Xiaotian's voice was deep, like a bell, resounding through the void. Qiyu nodded slightly, then said in a deep voice, Show me your full strength. Let me see your strength. You will see, Gua Xiaotian replied. Then, a shocking light burst out from his eyes. In the next moment, countless purple flames appeared around him, forming a powerful king's domain. With a roar, Gua Xiaotian charged forward with the purple flame domain. Facing Qiyu, he did not dare to be careless at all. Therefore, he used his most powerful skill right from the start. On the other hand, Qiyu roared to the sky. Endless light rushed out from his body, and his red hair fluttered like red flames. Behind him, a burning moon quickly appeared, exuding a monstrous aura. Flaming Moon Palm. With a wave of his palm, an endless sea of fire condensed, forming a burning moon that pressed forward. In the next moment, the 2 attacks collided. 2 kinds of terrifying flames burned silently, but the sky kept cracking. The purple flame domain and the burning moon kept colliding, eroding and attacking each other. The overflowing energy turned into waves that swept in all directions, causing the crowd to retreat in shock. Fortunately, there was a formation that formed a strong defense. Otherwise, this attack would have definitely shattered the entire White Cloud Mountain. In the end, the 2 types of flames erupted with unparalleled power, blasting one black hole after another into the void. Gua Xiaotian, on the other hand, vomited blood and was sent flying. He had lost. Even though he had used an extremely powerful domain technique right from the start, he had still lost. In fact, Chi Yu didn't even use his king's domain. He only used a palm technique to achieve victory. Seeing this scene, everyone was extremely shocked. They did not dare to imagine just how strong Chi Yu was. So strong. I'm afraid no one is a match for him. Yeah, the core disciple spot this time is very likely to be his. Everyone exclaimed in surprise. Even the two elders nodded their heads slightly. Facing Chi Yu's strength, those intersect geniuses all felt a sense of powerlessness. Humph! However, there were a few exceptions. Luo Yuan, who was ranked second, coldly snorted, his eyes flashing brilliantly as he stared at Chi Yu, and Luoshi, who was ranked third, also had a cold expression. Her delicate face was filled with seriousness. On the other side, Lin Xian nodded his head slightly. To be honest, Chi Yu's strength was indeed not bad. Although he was only a late-stage 3-star king, he was close to becoming a 4-star king. If he did not participate in the competition, no one among the inner sect disciples would be a match for Chi Yu. Unfortunately, with him participating in this competition, Chi Yu would definitely not win in the end. Then, the competition continued. Lin Xian went on the stage again. To everyone's surprise, Lin Xian's opponent this time was Wu Kuan. Seeing this scene, everyone exclaimed again. Wu Kuan was one of the people who had mocked Lin Xian before. The other person, Qing Feng, had already been beaten into a pig's head. Would Wu Kuan win? Or would he be beaten into a pig's head? Everyone was looking forward to it. Wu Kuan's face was extremely gloomy. He gritted his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. He did not expect to meet Chi Yu again so soon. This made him feel a sense of fear. This was because the strength that Lin Xian had displayed previously had shocked him greatly. But soon he comforted himself. Careless. It must be Qingfeng's carelessness that allowed Chi Yu to win. If he used his full strength this time, he would definitely be able to kill Chi Yu. With a cold shout, Wu Kuan appeared on the stage in a flash. Then he said coldly, "Kid, don't be arrogant. I will suppress you later." "Is that so? I am looking forward to it." Lin Xian shrugged his shoulders and said indifferently, "Do you want me to use only one hand? You are courting death." Wu Kuan roared. As an intersect genius, when had he ever been looked down upon like this? With a roar, he rushed over. Lightning Fire Domain. Wu Kuan immediately unleashed his king's domain, intending to kill Lin Xian. He would not give Chi Yu any chance. Flames filled the air, and lightning intertwined. The entire void was extremely violent. The power of fire and lightning intertwined, creating thousands of rays of light that caused people's hearts to palpitate. In an instant, Wu Kuan arrived in front of Lin Xian and attacked with his lightning fire domain. "Ha ha, kid! Go to hell!" Wu Kuan laughed sinisterly. The intersect disciples around him also exclaimed. They did not expect Wu Kuan to use his secret technique right from the start. He did not give Chi Yu any chance at all. It's over. Lin Xian is in danger. Yeah, Wu Kuan is ranked 7th. He is definitely not someone Qing Feng can compare to. Everyone was discussing. At that moment, everyone looked forward. However, Lin Xian looked calm. He looked at Wu Kuan, who was charging at him crazily, and sneered. Then he raised his palm and slapped forward. What? He hasn't used his domain yet? Seeing this, everyone was shocked and could not believe their eyes. Even the intersect experts frowned. They thought that Lin Xian was too arrogant. Slap. However, in the next moment, a crisp sound was heard. Lin Xian slapped Wu Kuan's face and sent him flying. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. They did not expect that the slap would hit Wu Kuan, and that Wu Kuan did not dodge at all. Suddenly, the corners of everyone's mouth twitched. Many people even touched their faces, subconsciously. Judging from the power of the slap, half of Wu Kuan's face would definitely be smashed. That was indeed the case. Wu Kun was sent flying, and half of his face was smashed. He could not believe what he had just seen. He had already used his king's domain, and used all his strength. However, he was still sent flying. What kind of technique was that? He was terrified. Chapter 1575. Next, he suffered the same fate as Qing Feng. He was slapped into a pig's head and thrown out of the arena. Everyone was shocked and could not believe it. They did not expect the battle to end so quickly. It was simply a one-sided beating. Heavens, just what realm has his strength reached? Why do I feel like he's a bottomless pit? That's right. To be able to send Wu Kun, who is ranked 7th, flying with a single slap, I'm afraid only the top 5 experts can do that. Are you kidding me? He's at least at the level of the top 3. Everyone was shocked, and the intersect geniuses were frowning. They realized that they had once again underestimated the young man in front of them. Even in Luoxi, Luo Yuan, and the others frowned at the power he had displayed. What an interesting kid. The 2 elders' eyes lit up as they stared at Lin Xian. Soon, the first round was over. Then came the second round, and the third round. Of course, some people were eliminated in the middle. After the 4th round, more people were eliminated. The battle between the crowd became more and more intense. Soon, the crowd in the White Cloud Square exclaimed again as the competition had reached a climax, and Luoxi, who was ranked 3rd, was fighting against Du Luo Yuan, who was ranked 2nd, and Luoxi was wearing a blue robe. She looked like a fairy and was extremely beautiful. Beside her, countless blue flames were rolling like an ocean. With a wave of her hand, the blue flames instantly enveloped the entire arena. Then, an ice-blue sword quickly formed in the flames. Thousands of rays of cold light were emitted, and the terrifying aura seemed to tear the sky apart. On the other side, Luo Yuan snorted coldly as a bright light burst out from his eyes. Countless wolf shadows appeared in the air, each of them exuding a terrifying power. A giant blue sword was waved, carrying a bright light as it slashed forward like a meteor. As for the tens of thousands of divine wolf phantoms, they moved rapidly, blotting out the sky and covering the earth, filling the entire space. A fierce collision sound was heard as a huge collision occurred in the entire space. With a loud bang, sparks flew in all directions. Everyone retreated in horror. This kind of attack was too terrifying. Just the aftershock alone was enough to destroy everyone. The 2 peerless experts continued to exchange blows. Every strike tore apart the heavens and split the earth. The berserk energy was like an ocean, whistling past. After hundreds of blows, the blue sword exploded and turned into countless flames again, spreading in all directions, and Luoxi was defeated. But on the other side, Luo Yuan was also suffering. His face was pale, and he didn't have much strength left in his body. It could be said that the victory was very dangerous. Many sighed, and Luoxi was the goddess in their hearts, yet she had been defeated. However, it had to be said that this was definitely a shocking battle. Every strike made people's hearts jump. Not long after, Lin Xian went up again. His opponent was Yang Fan, who was ranked 4th. Yang Fan was much stronger than Wu Kun. However, he was still defeated by Lin Xian. Moreover, his face had been beaten until it looked like a pig's head, and he didn't escape this fate. From then on, everyone was extremely shocked. The strength that Lin Xian had displayed was too strong. Even Yang Fan, who was ranked 4th, was not his match. With such strength, he definitely had the qualifications to enter the top 3. Until now, no one thought that Lin Xian was weak. Even the majority of the intersect geniuses were ashamed of their inferiority. This was because they were unable to reach such a level of strength. And Luoxi, who was ranked 3rd, and Luo Yuan, who was ranked 2nd, looked even more dignified. They didn't expect that at this time, A peerless expert would appear. And it was a newcomer, the sixth match, and Luoshi and Chiyu met. Everyone watched nervously, and Luoshi also used all her strength in this battle, but she was defeated after 50 moves. And she was defeated wholeheartedly. It couldn't be helped. Chiyu was really too strong. That burning flaming moon was extremely terrifying. It seemed to be able to suppress everything in the world. This made everyone feel despair. Next, not long after, Lin Xian finally met Luo Yuan. Suddenly, everyone was excited, because the strength that Lin Xian displayed was definitely at the level of the top 3, and Luo Yuan was even stronger. He was ranked second only to Chiyu. This was undoubtedly going to be a fierce battle between dragons and tigers. In the ring, Luo Yuan's eyes were cold. He stared at Lin Xian like a divine wolf. He said in a deep voice, "I admit that you are very strong, beyond everyone's expectations. But against me, you have no chance of winning. It's useless to say more. Let's fight," Lin Xian said indifferently. Boom. Luo Yuan roared. Suddenly, countless divine wolf phantoms filled his surroundings. Each of them was more than 3 meters long and had a pair of divine wings on their back. They exuded a terrifying aura. This is Luo Yuan's unique skill, divine wolf howling the sky. I wonder what Lin Xian will use to resist it. I don't think he has a chance. After all, Luo Yuan is second only to Chiyu. He is the only one who can compete with Chiyu. No matter how strong Lin Xian is, he is probably only on par with Luoshi. I'm afraid he will still lose to Luo Yuan. While everyone was discussing, Luo Yuan had already made his move. He brought the divine wolf phantoms with him and quickly charged towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian looked calm. He formed a seal with his palms and immediately displayed the 9 heavens transformation. A huge 9-headed snakelet took shape in front of him. Its body was as huge as a mountain, and its 9 heads swayed in the air. Instantly, lightning, flames, frost, cold wind, light blades, and various other attacks flew out of the 9 heads and rushed forward. Boom! The divine wolf phantoms were pierced through and turned into spiritual energy that dissipated in the air. What? He actually pierced through them? Seeing the scene, everyone exclaimed in shock. They had never expected that Lin Xian would have such a method capable of instantly defeating a large number of divine wolf phantoms. Even Luo Yuan, on the opposite side, was moved. The next moment, he roared, "Wolf conquers the world." As his voice rang out, purple radiance erupted from the eyes of the divine wolf phantoms. All the phantoms merged rapidly, forming a huge divine wolf that walked between the heavens and the earth. The divine wolf looked ferocious and terrifying. It walked upright like a giant, black fog rolling around its body and emitting a terrifying energy. Not only that, a huge black saber appeared in its hand. It flickered with an incomparably dark radiance. At this moment, Luo Yuan finally unleashed his strongest technique. With a furious roar, the wolf god phantom brandished its huge black saber and viciously slashed forward. The saber flashed and shattered the void. The saber cleaved the 9-headed snakelet in half. Instantly, the flame, lightning, hailstones, and other energies disappeared. How powerful! Seeing this scene, many inner court disciples exclaimed in surprise. It's out! This is Luo Yuan's strongest technique. That Lin Xian definitely won't be able to block it. Everyone held their breaths and watched carefully. Even Lin Xian was slightly astonished. Luo Yuan was the only person capable of blocking a single attack of his. It was no wonder Luo Yuan was able to become the number 2 genius of that sect. Not bad. Chapter 1576. Lin Xian nodded. Then he clenched his fist and slammed it forward. Instantly, the great dragon sword soul in his body revolved. Boundless spiritual energy gathered and formed two huge steels in the sky. The steels were formed by spiritual energy. They shone brightly and illuminated their surroundings. Although they weren't real, they were like ancient divine steels. They emitted a mysterious energy that caused everyone's heart to palpitate. Suppress. Lin Xian's palm slammed down. Instantly, the ancient steels in the sky pressed down slowly. Shockwaves rolled, and the void shattered. The ancient steels directly suppressed the terrifying wolf god. Roar. The wolf god howled madly. Black energy surged out of his body, forming a hellish scene. The black saber in his hand slashed in all directions, creating a black hole in the void. However, he couldn't escape from the divine steels in the sky. In the end, he was imprisoned in the void and howled in pain. Everyone was stunned. After a long time, they all inhaled a mouthful of cold air. As for Luo Yuan, he was stunned. His mind was blank. He couldn't believe it. His strongest technique had actually been easily suppressed by someone else. Moreover, he realized that his opponent had held back. Otherwise, he would have been seriously injured. He might even have been killed. You've won. You're very strong. I've lost. Finally, Luo Yuan sighed and admitted defeat. The moment these words came out, the crowd went into an uproar. Shocking. This was too shocking. Even the second-ranked genius had admitted defeat. Had Lin Xian become so strong? At this moment, even the first-ranked Qi Yu had a solemn expression. The eyes of the core disciples were also shining. The two core elders were also extremely excited. They realized that Lin Xian was truly a peerless genius. He was comparable to those from the sacred land. At this point in the competition, it was already very clear that everyone had a record of defeat. Only Lin Xian and Qi Yu had a record of complete victories. Therefore, the core disciple position would be decided between the two of them. The winner would be the next core disciple. At this thought, everyone couldn't help but get excited. This was going to be the strongest battle among the inner disciples. At this moment, Luo Yuan and Luoshi, Chu Yu, and the other core disciples all focused their gazes forward. Qi Yu was a tall man with a head full of fiery red hair that fluttered in the wind like a burning flame. He stared at Lin Xian and said in a deep voice, "You're very strong, and you've exceeded my expectations. I never thought that the final battle would be with you." Lin Xian chuckled. Life is full of surprises. No one can predict what will happen next. Perhaps you didn't expect to lose in a while. Humph! Hearing this, Qi Yu snorted coldly. The one who will lose is you. There is no doubt about that. There's no point in talking. Let's do it. Lin Xian shook his head slightly. Seeing Lin Xian's contemptuous look, Qi Yu was furious. As the #1 disciple of the inner sect, he had always been high and mighty, and no one dared to look down on him. But now he was being looked down upon. How could he not be angry? Therefore, the moment he made his move, he used a powerful ultimate skill. A burning moon quickly appeared and shrouded Lin Xian. This aura was too terrifying. Even Luo Yuan and Luoshi trembled. Their expressions changed greatly. They had not expected Qi Yu to be so strong. Damn it, he hid his cultivation. Luo Yuan trembled, his eyes filled with fear. He had originally thought that he could compete with Qi Yu, but now it seemed that it was impossible. Qi Yu's aura was very close to that of a 4-star king. Apart from the core disciples, no one could compete with him. Even the 2 core disciples and the elders nodded slightly, acknowledging Qi Yu's strength. Lin Xian was expressionless, his expression calm. The next moment, he gently raised his hand and pointed with his finger. Void shattering. A finger beam flew out like a heaven-shaking rainbow, flying in the sky. At this moment, the finger beam seemed to be the only thing in the world. It was so bright that no one could open their eyes. Pung! A deep sound rang out as the finger beam instantly shattered the red moon. This scene stunned everyone. They didn't dare to believe it. The red moon contained spiritual energy that was infinitely close to that of a 4-star king. No one among the inner disciples could compete with it, but now it had been shattered with a single finger. How terrifying was the energy needed to do that? However, the one who did it was only a 2-star king. Everyone felt like they were dreaming. On the opposite side, Chiyu looked as if he had been struck by lightning. His face turned pale as he kept retreating. A stream of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. It was bright red and dazzling. He was too shocked. This red moon was his ultimate skill. No one in the inner sect could resist it. Only the core disciples could compete with it. But now the other party had merely pointed out with a finger, and his ultimate skill was broken. He could not accept it at all. At that moment, even the 2 elders widened their eyes. That was because Lin Xian's battle prowess was truly astonishing. Does this guy have the combat strength of a 4-star king? Thinking of this, everyone sucked in a cold breath. Damn it, I don't believe it. Chiyu roared. He waved his hand, and a huge red moon formed beside him. Moonlight Realm, Chiyu's king's realm. As soon as the Moonlight Realm was formed, it quickly condensed into red moons that pressed forward. Each red moon was like a red mountain, shaking the void and crushing the surroundings. However, Lin Xian only waved his finger and shattered these terrifying red moons. Chiyu roared crazily. He wanted to get closer to Lin Xian with the Moonlight Realm. As long as he could envelop his opponent in his king's realm, he would be able to win. However, that frightening finger light caused him to be alarmed. He could only use his maximum speed to continuously dodge. In the end, after 9 red moons were destroyed, Chiyu finally arrived in front of Lin Xian. Suddenly, Chiyu was ecstatic. His eyes shone with a terrifying light. The Moonlight Realm beside him was even more dazzling. It was like a sea of fire. It's over. The huge Moonlight Realm quickly enveloped Lin Xian. Seeing this scene, everyone cried out in alarm. Could it be that Lin Xian was really finished? At this moment, everyone was extremely nervous. Lin Xian was still calm. He waved his hand and immediately used the Dragon Sword Realm. Thousands of sword chi roared, and killing intense sword. The whole world seemed to have become a world of sword chi. Bang! In the next moment, the 2 kings' realms collided, and countless cracks appeared in the void. In an instant, the Crimson Moon domain was sent flying by the impact. Puff! Chiyu spat out blood and was sent flying. He hit the ground and could not move at all. Chapter 1577. One hit, just one hit, and he was severely injured. Moreover, it was because his opponent was defending passively. If his opponent had attacked first, he would have been killed. Everyone was stunned. The entire White Cloud Square was silent to the extreme. Defeated, Chiyu was actually defeated. After a long time, the crowd exclaimed. They could not believe that Chiyu, the top inner disciple, was defeated. This was too terrifying. His opponent was only a 2-star king, but the combat power he displayed was even more terrifying than Chiyu's. He had probably reached the 4-star king level. At this moment, all the inner disciples looked at Lin Xian, their bodies trembling. The 2 core disciples in the distance also looked very serious. His combat power was already on par with theirs. As for the 2 elders, they were also extremely excited. A peerless genius, an absolute peerless genius. They, the Danzong, had really picked up a treasure this time. Chiyu was seriously injured and directly fainted. He was carried away for treatment. The entire place was completely silent. After a long time, an elder said in a deep voice, "This competition has ended. The one who became a core disciple is Lin Xian." Everyone was silent. They had never thought that today's result would be like this. Lin Xian revealed a smile. Very good. He had finally become a core disciple. Next, the elder told Lin Xian about the situation of core disciples. After becoming a core disciple, the treatment would be greatly improved. They could have their own mountain to cultivate. Moreover, they could obtain more resources and could even enslave the inner and outer disciples. As Lu Chao went missing, a mountain was empty, so Lin Xian directly took over that mountain. Everything that Lu Chao had before was replaced by Lin Xian. In addition, core disciples had 2 opportunities to listen to the elders' lectures every month. They could read the middle grade earth class martial arts and middle grade Xian pill recipes. They could cultivate their own spiritual herbs in the mountains and only needed to give 50% to the sect. Of course, the sect had a rule that core disciples would be given a task every 3 months. If they could not complete it, their treatment would be greatly reduced. Lin Xian nodded to show that he understood. He knew that the sect and its disciples had a coexisting relationship. They needed to cooperate with each other. He didn't need to worry about these things. He planned to wait until things were stable before going to the library to see if there were any clues about the Niwa of Gojoseon. Just like that, Lin Xian became a core disciple. The resources he needed were all sent to the mountain peak. Among them, in addition to the cultivation method, pill Dao, and spiritual medicine, there was also a blue pill. It was said that this was a very good pill. Only core disciples and above could have it. The inner and outer sect disciples did not have the fortune to enjoy it. How could there be such a good thing? Lin Xian was overjoyed. What he lacked the most now was energy. If the great dragon sword's soul wanted to improve, it would require an extremely large amount of energy each time. Moreover, it would increase exponentially. If he couldn't find so much energy, he was afraid that his realm would stagnate. Now, this blue pill seemed to be a very good pill, so he planned to try it. After those people left, Lin Xian set up a defensive array on the mountain peak and named it Star Mountain. Then he sat down cross-legged, took out the blue pill, and quickly swallowed it. Immediately, the pill dissolved and a torrent of energy rushed into his meridians. So powerful. Lin Xian was overjoyed. He didn't expect that the blue pill would have such a strong energy. It's really good stuff. No wonder only core disciples have it. He used the longevity incantation and quickly absorbed the energy. However, he soon frowned because the longevity incantation seemed to have changed. The longevity incantation was a cultivation method that he had been practicing since he started cultivating. It could be said that it was very powerful. Moreover, there had never been any changes. However, the longevity incantation had changed. The cultivation method had been reversed. Every cultivation method followed a certain path between the meridians and acupoints in the body to provide energy to the body. It could be said that this path was very stable. However, the longevity incantation had been reversed. Lin Xian didn't dare to imagine the consequences. Damn, what's going on? Lin Xian's expression changed drastically. He wanted to stop, but he realized that he couldn't do it. The longevity incantation was like an azure dragon that quickly reversed in Lin Xian's body and expelled all the energy from the blue pill. Buffed! Lin Xian's body trembled, and he spat out a blue liquid. It was the blue pill from before. After spitting out the blue liquid, the longevity incantation calmed down and returned to normal. What's going on? Lin Xian's eyes widened. He couldn't understand. The longevity incantation had stopped him from absorbing energy. This had never happened before. Therefore, he called the Crimson Dragon and He Tu over. The 2 of them were experienced and knowledgeable, so they should know what was going on. After He Tu and the Crimson Dragon heard this, they were also puzzled. They also couldn't understand what was going on. Could it be that something went wrong with your cultivation? The Crimson Dragon said. That's impossible. If something went wrong, I should be seriously injured, but I'm safe and sound. Lin Xian shook his head. At this moment, He Tu said, "Kid, try taking other pills and see if your cultivation method will reverse." Hearing this, Lin Xian nodded. He took out a pill that he had refined himself and quickly swallowed it. This time, the longevity incantation didn't reverse. This scene left everyone dumbfounded. After a while, Lin Xian said doubtfully, "Could it be that there's something wrong with this blue pill? Or could it be that it conflicts with my cultivation method?" Other than that, he couldn't think of any other reason. One had to know that he was an alchemist. He had taken countless pills and nothing had ever happened. Only this big brother's blue pill could cause the cultivation technique to reverse. Thus, after thinking about it, there were only these two possibilities. He Tu nodded. "Your cultivation method is very magical. It hasn't made any mistakes for so many years. I don't think it's a problem with your cultivation method. So, it's the pill's problem," the Crimson Dragon said from the side. Then, his eyes flickered as he carefully looked at the pool of blue liquid on the ground. What a strong energy! He waved his dragon claw and took out a drop to examine it carefully. After looking at it for a long time, he didn't find any problems. Although we didn't find any problems, it doesn't mean that there's no problem. Maybe we just don't know yet. He Tu said, "Kid, don't eat this blue pill. If you want energy, you can find it anywhere." As the new successor of the Dragon Sword, Lin Xian couldn't be allowed to have any problems with him. Lin Xian also nodded. Even if he wanted to eat it now, he couldn't. As soon as he took this pill, the longevity incantation reversed and spat out all the energy of the pill. Lin Xian had used the longevity incantation for many years, so he didn't think that longevity would harm him. It must be the pill's problem. At this moment, he suddenly thought of an idea. "Do you think that the Niwa of Gojoseon's incident has something to do with this blue pill?" Chapter 1578. At this moment, Lin Xian suddenly had an idea. "Do you think the Niwa of Gojoseon's incident has something to do with this blue pill?" Lin Xian asked. Hearing this, He Tu and the Crimson Dragon were deep in thought. "Could it be that there's a secret behind this blue pill?" "I think it's possible," the two whispered. Lin Xian's face lit up. It seemed that he had found a very important clue. In the future, if he searched for this blue pill, he should be able to find some clues. Thinking of this, he did not hesitate. His figure flashed, and he left for Chu Yu's mountain peak. If he wanted to know about the blue pill, he could only ask the core disciples. However, among the core disciples, he was only familiar with Chu Yu. Therefore, he could only ask him. Seeing Lin Xian arrive, Chu Yu smiled and said, "Why are you here instead of enjoying your cultivation resources?" "Oh, it's like this. I just received a blue pill from the sect. After consuming it, I felt that the effect was very good. So, I want to ask, how can I get more?" "Oh, you're talking about that pill." Chu Yu smiled. "There's no other way. There's only one pill per month." "Only one pill per month? Is it the same for everyone?" Lin Xian asked calmly. "Yes, it's the same every month. No matter what method you use, you can't get more." "What kind of pill is it? How do you feel after consuming it? Is there anything you're not used to?" Lin Xian asked again. "Why do you ask?" Chu Yu was puzzled. "The effect of that pill is very good. Every time I consume it, I feel refreshed. I feel that my energy and body have reached the peak. This is definitely a rare pill. Only core disciples can consume it. However, I don't know what this pill is called. Everyone calls it Blue Wave Pill." "Blue Wave Pill," Lin Xian muttered, then frowned. From what Chu Yu said, it seemed that no one felt uncomfortable after consuming it. Moreover, the effect was surprisingly good. But why couldn't he take it? Of course, he didn't dare to tell Chu Yu about this matter. Otherwise, it would alarm the sect, and he would be used for experiments or something. That would be terrible. It looked like he couldn't ask any more questions. Chu Yu seemed to have begun to suspect something. Therefore, Lin Xian didn't ask any more questions. After chatting about some matters related to alchemy and cultivation, he left. Kid, don't worry, take your time. Otherwise, it will attract the attention of others. He Tu also reminded him. Yes, I know. Lin Xian nodded and put the matter aside for the time being. A few days later, he went to the sex library to read some books. He specifically selected some historical records. However, there was no record of the Niwa of Gojoseon. According to the 10,000 Beast Ding, the Niwa of Gojoseon used to be an elder, and his status and strength were even higher than the core disciples. Logically speaking, there should be records of it. However, after rummaging through the entire library, he didn't find any records of the Niwa of Gojoseon. It looked like the Danzong had erased it. What did the Niwa of Gojoseon do? Why was he pursued by the Danzong like this, and all his deeds were erased? Could it be related to the blue pill? Lin Xian was puzzled, but he couldn't be sure. It looked like he couldn't rush this matter. He could only wait. With a sigh, he returned to the Star Peak. There was no progress on the Niwa of Gojoseon's matter. Lin Xian could only cultivate and increase his strength to deal with the unknown danger. After cultivating for a period of time, he felt that his progress was too slow. After all, he had the great dragon sword soul. The energy he needed was several times more than an ordinary king, or even more than 10 times. Therefore, ordinary energy wasn't enough for him to absorb. It looked like he could only go out and search for opportunities. Lin Xian sighed. As expected, one had to pay a higher price than others in order to be powerful. Fortunately, the matter at Fengshan wasn't over yet. Perhaps he should go and explore it again. The Crimson Dragon agreed with this suggestion. The benefits he received last time had allowed him to advance by 1 level. Therefore, he couldn't forget about it. The two didn't hesitate. They left the Danzong again and set off for Fengshan. The demonic aura at Fengshan was even thicker now. It was overflowing and looked like hell. However, there were more martial artists in the surroundings. Moreover, it wasn't just the sects and countries nearby. Even the sects and sects far away had come. It could be said that there were countless experts now. Damn, what did they find? How did they attract so many people? The Crimson Dragon exclaimed as he looked at the figures flying in the sky. Kid, be careful. Although there aren't any people from the sacred grounds or the clan of the ancients, those from the great sects are also very strong. I'm afraid they're much stronger than the Danzong. Great sects? So strong? Lin Xian was also surprised. He thought that above the Danzong were the clan of the ancients and the sacred grounds. He didn't expect there to be so many great sects in between. He Tu reminded, Kid, don't underestimate these great sections. Some of the more powerful great sects have been passed down for tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years. Among them, the terrifying great sects are not inferior to the sacred grounds or the clan of the ancients. So strong. Lin Xian was shocked. Indeed, there were countless experts in the true spirit world and many sects. It seemed that among these powers, the Danzong wasn't ranked. The great sects had limitless and terrifying foundations. Even He Tu's words carried a trace of seriousness. Lin Xian took a deep breath. His eyes were full of fighting spirit. He believed that with his talent and hard work, he would be able to rule the world one day. While they were talking, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon's figures were like lightning as they quickly approached Feng Mountain. Compared to a few days ago, this place was even more terrifying. The overflowing aura made people tremble with a single glance. The two carefully advanced. Soon, they passed through the cave they had entered last time. The deeper they went, the more terrifying the aura became. Fortunately, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon weren't ordinary people, so they were able to resist this terrifying aura. If it were other kings, they wouldn't even dare to enter. However, as soon as they entered Feng Mountain, they were attacked. It was a group of ghosts emitting a cold aura that wrapped around Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon. But this time, Lin Xian's strength had greatly increased, so he easily dealt with them. As they continued forward, he finally frowned, because there were fighting sounds coming from ahead. Obviously, the various powers had already started fighting. Relying on his outstanding soul power, Lin Xian sensed danger and quickly avoided those warriors. He didn't want to fight with these people right now and waste his energy. But in the end, he still encountered a group of people. Chapter 1579. There were about a dozen people in this group, and the leader was an old man. However, what made Lin Xian feel at ease was that this old man was only a 4-star king. The young people behind him were, at most, 3-star kings. The old man stared at Lin Xian, his eyes flickering, but he did not say anything. However, the young disciples beside him sneered and said, "Kid, who are you? How dare you wander around here? Aren't you afraid of death? A 2-star king dares to come in alone? You're really courting death." A few young disciples stepped forward and looked down at Lin Xian with arrogant expressions. The old man frowned, but he did not say anything. This was because he had already checked Lin Xian's cultivation before, and he was only a 2-star king. Such a person was not a threat at all. Moreover, he was also very curious. Where did the other party get the courage to appear here? Lin Xian's expression was solemn. He did not pay attention to these people. His figure flashed, and he prepared to leave from another place. There was danger everywhere now, and he did not want to fight too much. He wanted to preserve his strength. However, those young people did not intend to let him go. A hint of anger even appeared in their eyes. "You're courting death. I asked you a question, and you dare not answer? You're too arrogant. No one dares to ignore us. A mere 2-star king dares to be so arrogant. Looks like we really need to teach you a lesson." They sneered and were about to attack. However, Lin Xian snorted coldly. "If you don't want to die, scram. You're courting death." Hearing Lin Xian's warning, the young people were furious. In their opinion, the other party dared to scold them. He was simply courting death. Therefore, these people shouted coldly and erupted with powerful strength, quickly attacking Lin Xian. Lin Xian's face darkened, and a hint of killing intent appeared in his eyes. He did not want to fight too much and preserve his strength. However, these people in front of him provoked him again and again. It seemed that he had no choice but to attack. He snorted coldly and raised his arm. Suddenly, a dazzling sword light flew out from between his fingers. It was like a long river, fiercely slashing forward. A beam of sword light turned into 3 beams of sword chi and slashed towards the 3 young men in front of him. Puff, puff. 3 low voices rang out as the 3 arrogant youths were sliced in half. What? He was killed. Seeing this scene, the surrounding people widened their eyes in disbelief. Even that old man had a shocked expression on his face. To be honest, the other party was only a 2-star king tier, and he didn't attract his attention at all. Among his disciples, any one of them could easily kill the other party. However, he did not expect that the other party had actually concealed his strength and displayed such powerful strength, killing 3 of his disciples with a raise of his hand. "Brat, you're courting death." At this moment, the old man finally could not hold it in any longer. An extremely powerful force surged out from his body, and together with his huge palm, he slapped towards Lin Xian. Instantly, the palm of light covered the sky and the sun, and the immense pressure caused the void to tremble. 4-star king tier? Is this what gives you the right to be arrogant? What a joke! Lin Xian snorted coldly, and a bright light burst out from his eyes. Then, a dragon's roar rang out from his body. A shocking beam of sword light shot up into the sky. He clenched his fist, and a black demonic sword appeared in his hand. Then he slashed it forward, a sword that split the sky. The huge sword chi was like a black mountain, and it was extremely terrifying. It directly blasted away the huge palm that covered the sky and enveloped the old man. Boom! An earth-shattering sound rang out, and the wind and clouds between heaven and earth moved violently. A huge crack appeared in the sky. The old man's expression changed drastically. He felt an extremely sharp radiance slashing his body, and he was instantly sent flying. At this critical moment, he activated 7 layers of defense. Among them, 3 layers of spiritual power defense, 3 layers of shields, and a piece of armor on his body blocked in front of him. He was truly too terrified because this sword chi made him shudder with fear and trepidation. However, even if he activated 7 layers of defense, it was of no use. The black sword chi cut through all of his defenses and then slashed his body. Boom! The old man was sent flying. More than half of the bones in his body were broken, and there was a terrifying sword wound on his body. Blood splattered in the sky, and the pungent smell of blood filled the air. Damn it! How is this possible? The old man was sent flying for dozens of miles, crashing into countless mountains before he finally stopped. His eyes were filled with horror. He was a 4-star king. He was extremely powerful, and his opponent was only a 2-star king. However, he was able to seriously injure him with a single sword strike. This was simply too sensational. Damn it! Could this kid be from a sacred ground, or a clan of the ancients, or a disciple of one of those great sects? The old man's scalp went numb. He knew that he had kicked an iron plate this time. Only a disciple of such a force could fight someone of such a high level. Thinking of this, his expression became extremely ugly. In the next moment, he burned the spiritual power in his body, and his entire body turned into a dazzling light as he fled into the distance. Humph! Black dragon break! Lin Xian snorted coldly. The black sword chi turned into a black dragon and roared forward. In an instant, the huge black dragon's body swallowed the old man. The sword light exploded, and the sword chi soared into the sky and tore through the sky. The old man was blasted into powder, leaving nothing behind. The disciples that he brought with him were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. They did not expect that their master would be killed. And this person was the ant that they had mocked before. Who are you? You're not human. You're a demon. Everyone, run. The disciples were so scared that their faces turned pale, and they fled in all directions. However, at this moment, the crimson dragon sneered. He waved his dragon claws and shouted, "Dragon roars in all directions." In an instant, countless dragon claws lashed out in all directions, filling up the entire space. Bang, bang. Soon, the dozen or so disciples were all smashed into a bloody mist by the dragon claws. The crimson dragon chuckled, while Lin Xian was expressionless. To be honest, he did not have any pity in his heart because the world was cruel. If he did not kill these people, they would kill him. If he and the crimson dragon were weak, they would have been killed by the other party long ago. After dealing with these troubles, Lin Xian and the crimson dragon continued on their journey. In front of them, black chi filled the air, and the aura of death soared into the sky. It was extremely cold. Some of the weaker warriors had no choice but to retreat. However, some of the bolder ones directly activated their king's domains, or used their armor to force their way in. As for the powerful kings, their chi and blood surged into the sky, and they were as vigorous as furnaces. From afar, one could see patches of red light that connected the heavens and the earth. Those were the scenes emitted by the chi and blood of the strong. They were so powerful that ghosts and evil beings did not dare to approach. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon's qi and blood rumbled in their bodies, emitting powerful auras. However, the two of them controlled themselves well and did not appear too shocking. They did not want to attract too much attention. Chapter 1580. However, along the way, he had also found many spiritual herbs. There were countless spiritual herbs in the world, and they all had different habits. Some liked sunlight, some liked water, some liked darkness, and some even grew in the wilderness of mountains of corpses. Therefore, there were countless precious spiritual herbs in the Feng Mountain range. Moreover, they were all very old, thousands of years old. These were all 1,000-year-old herbs, and they were very precious. Lin Xian took some, then sat down cross-legged, and quickly refined pills. Now that he was able to refine middle-grade Xian pills, he would not let go of any opportunity. In the end, he was only in charge of refining pills, while the Crimson Dragon and the Snow White Monkey were in charge of collecting. The two of them were very fast, and it did not take long for them to collect more than 10,000-year-old herbs. Soon, a furnace of pills was made. There were a total of 12 pills. Each of them was the size of a longan, and they emitted a strange fragrance. Lin Xian, the Crimson Dragon, and the Snow White Monkey shared the pills equally, and they quickly consumed them to increase their strength. However, every time Lin Xian raised his cultivation, the amount of energy he needed was too great. Therefore, this small amount of elixir could not provide any significant improvement. However, his strength increased little by little. When night fell, the entire Feng Mountain was shrouded in a layer of ghostly aura. It was so dark that one could not even see their own fingers. Under such circumstances, Lin Xian, the Crimson Dragon, and the rest did not leave, but sat cross-legged where they were. They started a bonfire, but the dim light could only illuminate the surrounding area for a meter. However, this was enough. The Crimson Dragon set up a defensive array around them. Lin Xian was preparing to cultivate. Bang! However, at this moment, a low sound was heard, as if something was hitting the array. "Who is it?" Lin Xian shouted coldly, and his voice turned into a murderous aura, penetrating all directions. The Crimson Dragon also set up an array, and suddenly a bright light shone, illuminating the surroundings. Then their eyes widened, and they felt their scalps go numb. 2 meters in front of them, there was a corpse lying on the ground. It was a shriveled corpse with only skin and bones left. At this moment, it was lying on the ground, emitting a gloomy and cold aura. F*CK, what is this thing? When did he appear? The Crimson Dragon was startled. Lin Xian was also shocked. There was nothing they could do about it. This mummy was too strange. Previously, they had scouted all directions, but there was nothing within a radius of 1 mile. But now, 2 meters in front of them, there was a dried corpse. How did it appear? Did the other party run over on his own? Or was it put here by someone? No matter which one it was, it made their scalps go numb. "Kid, why don't we go back? This place is too creepy." The Crimson Dragon hesitated. Lin Xian was shocked when he heard this. Even the Crimson Dragon said so. Was this place really that dangerous? However, before he could say anything, the sound of fighting suddenly came from the front. There were also angry roars. Someone's fighting. Lin Xian frowned and spread out his soul power. He found that the place where the sound came from was not far away. It was only a few dozen miles away from them. This distance was nothing to them. "Let's go and have a look," Lin Xian said. Then he turned into a sword light and flew forward. The Crimson Dragon did not dare to stay here alone, so he followed closely. At this distance, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon soon arrived. Then they found that there was indeed a battle. On one side, there was a man in black. His wide black robe wrapped around his body. His eyes were unusually cold, with an unfathomable evil aura. On the other side, although Lin Xian did not know who it was, his clothes were very familiar. He was a disciple of the Danzong, and judging by his cultivation, he should be a core disciple of the Danzong. At this moment, they were fighting with the black-robed man. However, they were not fighting with the black-robed man himself, but with a few dried corpses. That's right. There were a few dried corpses around the black-robed man, and they were walking strangely. As they moved, there was a strange and evil power. Damn, what a strong death aura. The Crimson Dragon looked forward and was shocked. Death aura? This uncomfortable feeling is the death aura? Lin Xian asked. At the same time, he found that the dried corpses around the black-robed man were very similar to the one beside the bonfire. Come to think of it, they should be together. One of the dried corpses was very scary. It was tall, purple, and seemed to be wearing armor. There was a gray light in its eyes. Its body was as fast as lightning, and its strength was enormous. With a palm strike, it sent a core disciple of the Danzong flying. It seemed that the purple zombie was at least a 4-star king, and the dried corpses around it were not weak either. Although they were not as strong as the purple zombie, they had strong bodies. The attacks of the core disciples did not cause much damage to them. Damn it, who are you? The core disciples of the Danzong roared. There were 3 of them in total. Now that one of them was sent flying, there were only 2 left. It was a man and a woman. The 2 of them were fighting 6 dried corpses, and the situation was very dangerous. After the black-robed man heard this, he sneered. Dead people don't need to know so much. Don't worry. After you die, I'll turn you into dried corpses and make you my slaves forever. As he spoke, he suddenly stretched out his hands and clapped lightly. Suddenly, a very low voice was heard. The dried corpses and the purple zombie seemed to have received some kind of order, and they attacked even more crazily. The purple zombie was especially fierce. The 2 Danzong disciples' palms and longswords slashed at it, creating a series of sparks. However, they could not hurt the zombie at all. The purple zombie waved its palms, carrying a terrifying death aura. It instantly blasted the 2 of them and forced them back. Buffed! The 2 core disciples spat out blood. Their faces were pale. At the same time, a gust of death aura flowed into their bodies, destroying their spiritual energy and bodies. Because of that, their situation became even worse. Hee, the disciples of the Danzong. You're good at alchemy, but you're trash when it comes to fighting. Why didn't you stay in the mountains? Why did you have to get involved in this mess? Since that's the case, you can go to hell. The black-robed man sneered. His palms clapped in a strange rhythm. Then, the purple zombie charged forward again like lightning. Its withered palms were like the claws of death. They struck forward quickly. Even the void could not withstand it. The 2 core disciples were about to be killed. However, at this moment, Lin Xian snorted coldly. He waved his hand, and a ball of black flames flew out. It was like a black sun covering the sky and covering the earth. It quickly blasted onto the purple zombie. Bang! Puffed! Puffed! The purple zombie was pushed back. Not only that, but its body was also burning rapidly. It was only a dried corpse, so it would not feel any pain. However, the black-robed man was shocked when he saw this. Who's there? How dare you hurt my zombie? Come out! Chapter 1581. Who's there? How dare you hurt my zombie? Show yourself! As he roared, he quickly formed a seal with his palms. Immediately, an endless amount of death aura surrounded the purple zombie and extinguished the black flames. Then he looked to the side with a gloomy gaze. There, he found a young man standing with a red 4-horned snake. Who are you? How dare you interfere with my business? Do you want to die? The black-robed man's voice was gloomy. At the same time, he was shocked that the young man could hurt his purple zombie. One had to know that his purple zombie was extremely terrifying. Those core disciples of the alchemy sect from before were unable to harm it at all. Now, the young man who appeared out of nowhere could hurt his zombie. It was indeed shocking. The one who attacked was naturally Lin Xian. When he heard the man's roar, he did not answer. Instead, he asked, "Who are you?" "Humph, you don't have the right to know who I am. How dare you interfere with my business? You'll end up in a miserable state." The black-robed man snorted. His body was filled with murderous intent. "Then you don't have the right to know who I am either. However, since you dared to provoke a Danzong disciple, I can guarantee that you'll end up in a miserable state too," Lin Xian said slowly. He returned the man's words. "You're courting death." The black-robed man was furious. On the other hand, the 3 injured Danzong disciples were overjoyed. The young man turned out to be a Danzong disciple. That was good news. However, what puzzled them was that they did not recognize the young man in front of them. Could he be an inner disciple? As soon as they thought of that, they quickly rejected the idea. How could an inner disciple defeat this black-robed young man? He must be a core disciple. They heard that there was a new core disciple recently. It should be him. They discussed and finally confirmed it. On the other side, the black-robed man wanted to attack, but suddenly a strange voice came from afar. Suddenly, the black-robed man's expression changed. "Kid, you're lucky this time. The next time we meet, I'll kill all of you and turn you all into mummies." With that, he let out a cold snort. Boundless death chi spread out from his body, enveloping all the mummies. Then, with a flash of his body, he turned into a black light and left the place. Seeing that the man had left, the 3 core disciples heaved a sigh of relief and sat down on the ground. One by one, they began to consume pills to heal their injuries. At the same time, they looked at Lin Xian gratefully. "Thank you for your help, brother." "It's fine." Lin Xian smiled. "You said you're a Danzong disciple. Could it be that you're that new core disciple, Lin Xian?" asked a woman wearing a red skirt. "That's me." Lin Xian nodded. As expected, the 3 of them looked at each other and confirmed their thoughts. Brother Lin's strength is really strong. He actually injured that purple zombie with one move. "We were just lucky," Lin Xian said. "How did you meet that guy?" After that, the few of them chatted and quickly exchanged information. It turned out that these people had only met by chance. They did not know the background of the black-robed young man at all. Lin Xian nodded and prepared to leave. However, at that moment, a disciple wearing a green shirt suddenly trembled. "What's going on?" Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon were shocked. The other 2 disciples were also anxious. Could it be because of the death chi just now? Lin Xian frowned. However, the green-robed disciple was already unconscious. He kept rolling on the ground and spasming. With great difficulty, he shouted, "Pills! Give me pills!" Hearing that, the woman in red and the other disciples' expressions changed. As for Lin Xian, he quickly took out a few healing elixirs and handed them over. However, the green-robed disciple on the ground was quickly thrown away. His eyes were red, and his expression was ferocious as he shouted, "Give me pills!" Looking at this scene, Lin Xian frowned. This situation was way too strange. What does the other party want? He turned to look at the woman in red. He's talking about the blue wave pill. The woman in red sighed. "Brother Lin, I think you should have gotten a blue wave pill. I don't know if you've taken it. If you haven't, you can lend it to him first." "What? Blue wave pill?" Lin Xian's pupils shrank. He was extremely shocked. How did this strange situation have anything to do with the blue wave pill? What's going on? What does this have to do with the blue wave pill? Lin Xian asked quickly. I've already swallowed the pill. I don't have it now. The woman in red sighed. Senior brother was going to take the blue wave pill, but it was destroyed by the zombies. Without the blue wave pill, I'm afraid the coming days will be very difficult. That's Junior sister. The woman in red wanted to say something, but she was interrupted by the disciple beside her. Then the young man gave her a look. Suddenly, the woman in red was shocked. She realized that she had said too much. Then she shook her head slightly. It's nothing. Brother Lin, you'll understand these things for yourself in the future. Another disciple walked up and looked at the green-robed disciple who was screaming and convulsing on the ground. Then he struck him with his palm and knocked him unconscious. Brother Lin, we can't go together. I have to bring him back to the sect. That disciple cupped his fist and said. Then he left with the unconscious green-robed disciple and the woman in red. As for Lin Xian, his frown deepened. What do they mean? The three people in front of him obviously know something, but they don't want to tell him. Could it be that they're afraid of something? And what was the relationship between the convulsing disciple and the blue wave pill? What they meant was that the green-robed disciple had the blue wave pill, but it was destroyed by the zombies. That was why he didn't take it. But why would this happen if he didn't take it? Lin Xian's face turned ugly. Could it be that after taking it once, he would go crazy if he didn't take it again? When he thought of this, his scalp went numb. He seemed to have discovered something extremely terrifying. If this was true, then it would be an earth-shattering matter. One had to know that all the core disciples in Danzong had taken the blue wave pill. Even the elders had taken it. If the supply of the blue wave pill was stopped one day, wouldn't that mean that the entire upper echelon of Danzong, including the elite disciples, would go crazy? When he thought of this, Lin Xian broke out in a cold sweat. Fortunately, his art of longevity was extremely mysterious. It directly rejected the blue wave pill. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in a good state right now. Damn it, what's going on? How could something like this happen in Danzong? Lin Xian's face was unusually gloomy. He realized that he seemed to be involved in a huge conspiracy. Could it be that the Niwa of Gojoseon discovered this back then, and that's why he was hunted down? Chapter 1582. Lin Xian's face was unusually gloomy. He realized that he had been dragged into a huge conspiracy. Could it be that the Niwa of Gojoseon discovered this back then, and that's why he was hunted down? Maybe that's true. At the side, the Crimson Dragon also said in a low voice, to be honest, he has never seen such a strange thing. Kid, you have to be careful. This blue wave pill seems to be addictive. The Crimson Dragon's expression was serious. Even a 4-star king couldn't avoid it. Who could have made it? Damn, I didn't expect the Niwa of Gojoseon to be hiding such a huge conspiracy. Lin Xian took a deep breath. Kid, it's not too late for us to escape now. The Crimson Dragon reminded him, after all, you didn't take the blue wave pill. And the sect didn't find out either. If we leave now, they won't find out either. But if we stay for too long, I'm afraid something will happen. Yeah, kid, this situation is too strange. He too also tried to persuade him. However, Lin Xian shook his head slightly. It's okay. There's no danger now. I want to see what this Danzong wants to do. He realized that there was a huge conspiracy right in front of him. To be honest, he really wanted to uncover it. But before that, he needed to be powerful. Let's go and explore the ancient tomb first. We'll talk about the Danzong after we return. After that, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon moved again and flew forward. Whoosh! Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon landed on a mountain peak and looked forward. They were already very close to the center of Feng Mountain. At this moment, black smoke filled the sky, and the air was filled with a dense, ghostly aura. It was eerie and very oppressive. Countless martial artists around them turned into rays of light and rushed forward. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon didn't hesitate and also flew forward. When Lin Xian approached, he could feel the surrounding ghostly aura surging towards him, as though it wanted to devour him. With a cold snort, he activated the great dragon sword soul, and a sharp sword light surged out, cutting all the death chi in the surroundings. However, at this time, many martial artists flew past Lin Xian. When they sensed his cultivation, they immediately sneered. "Humph! A mere 2-star king dares to come here? You're courting death. Don't worry about him. Soon, he will be swallowed by the ghost chi and become a zombie." The few of them sneered and left while laughing. Lin Xian did not pay attention to those people. His figure flickered as he directly entered the center of Feng Mountain. The black mountain peaks were thousands of feet tall. They were like demonic swords that stood on the ground, emitting a torrential aura. That aura was extremely terrifying. Ordinary kings didn't even dare to approach it. Not far ahead, a group of people stood. They were the ones who had mocked him earlier. At this moment, those people were also looking around. When they turned around and saw Lin Xian, they sneered again. You actually managed to come in? What a surprise." "Humph! So what? A 2-star king coming here is courting death." It was a group of 9 young men. Each of them was outstanding and had a powerful aura. Moreover, there was a moon embroidered on their sleeves. Obviously, they were from the same sect. "Kid, I didn't expect you to be so lucky to be able to come here. However, if you continue, you'll also be courting death. Why don't you join us and become our slave? That way, you can keep your life. If you serve us well, we might even give you 1 or 2 treasures. Who knows?" At this time, a young man in front said coldly. Lin Xian said coldly, "Join you? Become a slave? You're really shameless. I'll give you 3 seconds to disappear from my sight. I don't want to kill anyone now. However, if you continue to be so presumptuous, don't blame me for being rude." "Oh, you dare to threaten me?" The young man sneered. The others also sneered disdainfully. "Kid, do you know the situation in front of you? Do you know who we are? What's your cultivation base? How dare you threaten us? You really don't know how to spell the word death." "Kid, I'll give you a chance. Kneel down and apologize. Break one of your arms, and I'll spare your life." Otherwise, the young man was very arrogant as he looked down at Lin Xian. However, before he could finish speaking, he was sent flying by a slap. Half of his face was smashed, and he fainted. That was naturally Lin Xian's doing. He slapped the other party unconscious, and then his gaze swept across the surroundings like lightning. He said coldly, "I don't want to do anything, but you've gone too far. Since that's the case, I can't let you live." As he spoke, his body moved like lightning and quickly rushed forward. "You're courting death." Those people were furious. They did not expect that the other party would dare to attack and even succeed. "Catch that kid and kill him." They counterattacked. However, in the next moment, everyone regretted it, because Lin Xian was too powerful. He subdued all of them with a raise of his hand. All of them covered their faces and wailed on the ground. Lin Xian did not kill them, but he did not show mercy either. These people were all seriously injured. "Impossible. Damn it. This is impossible. You're just a 2-star king. How can you be so powerful? Who exactly are you?" These people screamed in horror. They could not believe that a 2-star king could be so powerful. "You talk too much nonsense." Lin Xian lifted his leg and sent them flying with a kick. However, their storage rings were left behind. Lin Xian used his soul power to search quickly and took out all the useful things. As for the storage rings, they were thrown away by Lin Xian. Firstly, he had a king's domain that could store things. Secondly, The storage rings might have been sealed by the elders of the sect. He did not want to take them. From these people's storage rings, he found 50 substandard divine crystals that were not of good quality. F***CK. That's all? You're really poor. The Crimson Dragon curled his lips and looked at them with disdain. Puff. Hearing this, the seriously injured young people vomited blood and fainted. As for Lin Xian and the dark red divine dragon, they took the items with them and left the place in a flash. Then, he and the Crimson Dragon set off for the depths of Feng Mountain. During this time, they were mocked by many people, but they were all chased away by Lin Xian. Of course, everyone who mocked him left behind a painful price. There were storage rings all over the ground. Lin Xian also obtained hundreds of high-quality subdivine crystals, which were absorbed by him one by one. His strength and cultivation were also gradually increasing. Right now, his realm was very stable, and his strength had also increased to a certain extent compared to before. However, at this moment, Lin Xian heard the sound of fighting coming from the mountain in front of him. He and the Crimson Dragon flew over and found that many people were fighting over the subdivine crystals. After searching carefully, they found out that those people were fighting over the subdivine crystals. This time, there were many subdivine crystals. There were 3 of them. Chapter 1583. Even though Lin Xian had obtained hundreds of good quality substandard god crystals, they couldn't compare to a single supreme grade substandard god crystal. Kid, good stuff. The Crimson Dragon was drooling. Lin Xian's eyes were also burning with desire. Since they had encountered it, they would not miss it. Get out of here. It belongs to the Golden Light sect. A furious roar was heard. Then several young men in golden robes appeared. Their bodies shone like the sun, illuminating the surroundings. Their aura was extremely powerful when they joined forces. What? The Golden Light sect. Seeing that, many people were horrified and quickly retreated. Humph! So, what if you have the Golden Light sect? Our moon-worshipping cult wants it. Get out of here if you don't want to die. On the other side, an arrogant voice was heard. Then several powerful martial artists appeared. Their powerful aura collapsed the void. Suddenly, more people retreated. Both the Golden Light sect and the moon-worshipping cult were major sections. They were extremely terrifying. The surrounding local sects were no match for them. Therefore, they could only retreat temporarily. However, the power of the subdivine crystal was too tempting. After some discussion, they decided to form an alliance to fight against the Golden Light sect and the moon-worshipping cult. Alliance? You're courting death. Kill. In an instant, the 3 forces fought fiercely. Terrifying energy swept out in all directions like a raging tide. Blood spurted out and dyed the sky red. Screams were heard. Not long after, many martial artists collapsed. At that moment, the greed of human nature was on full display. Everyone seemed to be in a killing frenzy as they fought desperately for the crystals. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon hid in the dark and were ready to attack. However, at that moment, another terrifying voice was heard. It sounded like the roar of a ferocious ghost. It made one's scalp tingle. Ha ha ha! 3 subdivine crystals. I didn't expect my luck to be so good. The voice was extremely ferocious. Then, black gas appeared in the void and formed a large hand that grabbed downward. You're courting death. Put it down. Get out of here. The martial artists of the Golden Light sect, the moon-worshipping cult, and the allied forces roared. They had fought so hard and had not obtained the crystals. How could they allow others to interfere? In the next moment, these martial artists made their moves one after another, unleashing powerful attacks that bombarded the sky. Bang, bang! A terrifying explosion rang out. High up in the sky, a violent wind blew, Thunder rumbled, and energy exploded. However, the berserk energy was unable to stop that figure. That mysterious person was like a ghost, carrying a shocking amount of energy. He quickly arrived in the sky. What? He was actually fine. How is this possible? The surrounding martial artists were astonished. Even if they were 4-star King realm martial artists, they would still suffer if they were hit by these attacks. However, nothing happened to the other party. This was simply too inconceivable. At this moment, everyone looked up at the sky. Even Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon, who were hiding in the dark, looked up. In the sky, there was a strange figure. It was a young man wearing a black robe. His eyes were cold and evil. He wasn't floating. Instead, he was sitting cross-legged on a purple zombie. The purple zombie was extremely tall. Its entire body was purple, and it flickered with a cold metallic luster. At the same time, it also had an extremely cold aura. Who are you? Seeing this strange scene, the crowd felt their scalps go numb. The disciple of the School of Golden Light roared furiously. You don't need to know who I am. You just need to get lost and leave the 3 supreme grade subdivine crystals behind. How dare you? You're courting death. Kid, you're too arrogant. Angry roars could be heard. At this moment, the disciple of the moon worshipping cult said, You're also sneering. Although you're strong, you can't withstand our attacks. If you don't want to die, get lost now. Humph, you're alone, and you want to get the 3 supreme grade subdivine crystals? You really don't know how to spell the word death. What a bunch of idiots. Who said I'm alone? In the sky, the black-robed man sneered. Then he waved his hand. Suddenly, a black scroll fluttered in the wind. In the next moment, a black light shone. 6 mummies flew out from the scroll. Each of them looked ferocious and evil. The martial artists below were shocked. The disciple of the School of Golden Light exclaimed, The Path of Corpse Ghost. You're from the South Ridge. They were indeed shocked. In the Eastern Wilderness, it was rare to hear of any sect that practiced the Path of Corpse Ghost. However, the South Ridge was different. There were many such sections. Therefore, the disciples of the School of Golden Light exclaimed, Humph, it's just a ghost. You want to use it to defeat us? What a joke. The disciple of the moon worshipping cult snorted, Watch me destroy your zombies. Suddenly, 3 disciples of the moon worshipping cult stepped forward. With a wave of their hands, a fire appeared in the sky and swept toward the sky. Humph! Zombies are afraid of fire and lightning. We'll use fire to burn your mummies. The others heaved a sigh of relief. Indeed, these mummies were afraid of the power of Yang. At this moment, the fire in the sky would definitely burn those mummies to ashes. However, the black-robed young man in the sky sneered. A disdainful smile appeared on his face. In the next moment, he formed a seal with his hands. Suddenly, the 6 mummies in the sky raised their hands. Balls of black light burst out from their palms. These balls of light grew bigger and bigger. They connected and surrounded the 6 mummies completely. Then, they spread out in all directions. In the next moment, a black defense was formed. Suddenly, the fire in the sky blasted on the black defense and set off huge waves. However, it did not break. It was blocked outside. What? He blocked it? How is that possible? Everyone was shocked. However, in the next moment, they screamed. This was because the black-robed young man had commanded the 6 zombies to dive down quickly and penetrate the bodies of 2 disciples of the moon-worshipping cult. Everyone felt their scalps go numb when they saw this. What kind of technique was this? How could the zombies not be afraid of fire? This was beyond common sense. In the sky, the black-robed young man did not stop. His palms moved again. The 6 zombies immediately rushed toward the disciples of the Golden Light sect. The disciples of the Golden Light sect narrowed their eyes and quickly dodged. At the same time, they roared and performed their strongest techniques to resist. However, this time, the 6 mummies did not rush over directly. Instead, they stretched out their 10 fingers. Suddenly, the 10 fingers shone brightly and left their bodies. Like 10 hidden weapons, they penetrated the heads of the 3 disciples of the Golden Light sect. Bang, bang, bang. The 3 disciples of the Golden Light sect fell to the ground, and blood flowed out. Everyone felt their scalps go numb when they saw this. They kept retreating. In just a moment, 5 disciples of the major sects were killed. This technique was too terrifying. Seeing the horrified expressions of the people below, the black-robed young man laughed out loud. "How is it? Now you know how powerful I am. If I don't show you some tricks, I'm afraid you won't believe me. Now, all of you can get out of my sight. Those 3 supreme-grade, subdivine crystals are mine. I'll kill whoever dares to snatch them." Chapter 1584. Now, all of you can get lost. Those 3 supreme divine crystals are mine. I will kill anyone who dares to snatch them from me. The black-robed youth sneered. Damn it! Damn it! I can't accept this." Countless warriors roared crazily. Those were 3 pieces of substandard divine crystals, each of which was extremely precious. Now they were asked to leave, and they could not accept it. However, the black-robed youth in the sky was too powerful. Moreover, his methods were vicious. He had killed 5 disciples of the large sects in an instant. If they continued to stay, their lives would be in danger. All of a sudden, everyone was in a dilemma, and their faces turned pale. "Humph! Don't even think about it. How dare you kill the disciples of the Golden Light sect? Today, you will never leave. The moon-worshipping sect will not let you off." At that moment, the Golden Light sect and the moon-worshipping sect gave up on fighting and joined forces to kill the black-robed youth in the sky. "Humph, you are really stubborn. Let's play with you. How dare you? I am Wong Dong from the Golden Light sect. I am here to kill you." A handsome young man walked out from the Golden Light sect. He was in a golden robe and held a golden sword in his hand. He exuded a powerful aura. He was as dazzling as the sun. "Humph, since you want to die, I will fulfill your wish." The black-robed youth sneered. Then he controlled the purple zombie and swooped down. The purple zombie emitted a dazzling radiance. Like a bolt of purple lightning, it dashed down quickly. Along with it, there was a thick fog and an eerie ghostly aura. When the surrounding martial artists saw the black-robed youth, they retreated nervously. They had no choice. The black-robed youth was too terrifying. His aura alone made them feel uneasy and their bodies trembled. What a fast speed! Lin Xian frowned as he observed the black-robed youth carefully. At the same time, he summoned Little White Monkey and prepared to snatch the 3 supreme divine crystals. On the other side, Wong Dong, the disciple of the Golden Light sect, roared and slashed with the golden holy sword. The sword radiance shone and turned into 5 dazzling sword chi that slashed forward. Each and every one of them was like a golden river, and the surging energy caused the void to tremble. As for the black-robed young man, he controlled the purple zombie to quickly dodge, and in an instant 3 more sword chis were dodged. As for the other 2, he urged the purple zombie to resist them. The purple zombie stretched out both of its palms. Like 2 purple thunderclouds, it pressed down viciously. Immediately, a purple light surrounded him, and a terrifying energy surged out. It was extremely powerful. Pung! An earth-shattering sound rang out as the 2 purple hands pressed down on the sword chi, instantly shattering the 2 sword chi. Just one move was enough to shatter the terrifying sword chi. This scene caused everyone to be extremely shocked. As for Wang Dong from the Gate of Golden Light, his pupils abruptly shrank. He did not expect the other party to be so powerful. With a roar, he brandished his sword again and quickly charged over. At the same time, the black-robed man rode the purple zombie and arrived in front of Wang Dong. That tall, purple, demonic figure was like an impenetrable wall. It was extremely powerful. It stretched out its purple palm, and with a whistling sound, it quickly grabbed forward. Wang Dong was shocked and raised his sword to block. Clang! The sound of metal clashing could be heard, and the entire sky shook violently. Then the black-robed man waved his hand, and two short wooden sticks appeared, which he threw forward. The wooden sticks were very short, only 1 foot long. They were very old and bumpy. If the black-robed man did not use them and threw them on the ground, no one would take a second look at them. However, the 2 wooden sticks in the black-robed man's hand emitted a strange force. A terrifying light flashed out, and like 2 ghost claws, it instantly tore through the sky. Pung! The Gate of Golden Light disciple, Wang Dong, did not expect the black-robed man to have such a move. He was immediately hit and was sent flying while vomiting blood. Seeing this scene, the crowd was in an uproar. The Gate of Golden Light martial artists roared angrily. "Damn it, you're cheating. 2 of you attacking 1 person. What kind of skill is that? If you're so capable, fight one-on-one." Hearing this, the black-robed man sneered disdainfully. "Idiots! This zombie is my weapon. How can it be counted as 2 people? Of course, you're weak, so it's not impossible for the 2 of you to come at me together. I'll fulfill your wish and make you give up completely. All right, let's go." On the other side, the people of Moon worshipping cult roared. Then 2 disciples stood out. Kill. These were 2 4-star kings. At this moment, they unleashed their full power. Their bodies were shining brightly, and they were extremely powerful. One of them held a long saber in his hand and slashed forward. The terrifying saber light was like a divine saber from the heavenly realm. It was extremely sharp. The other disciple of moon-worshipping cult moved and appeared behind the black-robed man at an extremely fast speed. Then he waved both of his palms. Countless moonlight shadows appeared, and a surging and majestic force quickly enveloped the black-robed man. One from the front and one from the back, they attacked each other. The 2 experts attacked at the same time, and they were extremely powerful. However, the black-robed man sneered. He suddenly turned around and waved his arm. Suddenly, the wooden sticks in his hand emitted a black light. The 2 attacks broke through the back and collided with the moonlight palm. At the same time, the purple zombie waved both of its palms. With a shocking force, it collided with the dazzling saber light, and a huge explosion occurred. What? He blocked that. So powerful! The crowd exclaimed. They did not expect that 2 4-star kings together could not take down the opponent. Damn it, I don't believe it. The disciple of moon-worshipping cult with the long saber roared and rushed forward again. Bang, bang, bang. The purple zombie waved its palms and collided with the long saber dozens of times. Every strike tore through the void. Soon, the disciple with the long saber retreated rapidly. His arm was numb, and his face was extremely ugly. His long saber was an extremely terrifying treasure, but he could not hurt the opponent? What kind of physique did the purple zombie have? How could it be so hard? How could it resist his treasure with its bare hands? Ha ha! Stop struggling. It's useless. This zombie was refined from the corpse of a 6-star king. You can't destroy it at all. The black-robed man sneered and said a shocking piece of news. What? the corpse of a 6-star king. The crowd was shocked, and their scalps went numb. No wonder the purple zombie was so powerful and invulnerable. It turned out that it was the corpse of a 6-star king. A 6-star king was extremely terrifying. It was an existence that was close to becoming an almighty. Moreover, the strongest among them was only a 4-star king tier. How could it break the body of a 6-star king? Thinking of this, the crowd's faces became very ugly. In the darkness, Lin Xian was also surprised. He did not expect the purple zombie to have such a background. The crimson dragon snorted coldly. "It's nothing. It's just a zombie. It's not a real 6-star king. Both my dragon blood and your Earth Step treasure can break through it." Chapter 1585. Hearing this, Lin Xian nodded. The crimson dragon was right. The purple zombie was not a threat to them. What he needed to do now was to get the 3 subdivine crystals. "Little White, it's up to you." The little white monkey nodded and started to collect the 3 subdivine crystals with its small bowl. Now that the little white monkey's strength had increased greatly and reached the king realm, it could snatch things from the king realm. However, as soon as the little white monkey started to move, the black-robed young man chuckled on the other side. He controlled the purple zombie and instantly arrived above the subdivine crystals. Then he stretched out his large purple palm and grabbed the subdivine crystals. Oh no! Everyone's expression changed drastically. Even Lin Xian was shocked. He did not expect the black-robed young man to attack suddenly. Buzz! In the next moment, the little white monkey performed a technique, and a subdivine crystal appeared in the shabby little bowl. The other 2 were grabbed by the purple zombie. The purple zombie swayed and returned to the black-robed young man's side. Damn it! Everyone's expression turned ugly. The black-robed young man laughed loudly. "Ha ha ha! Only I deserve to have such things." Then he took the subdivine crystals from the purple zombie's hand. However, in the next moment, his expression turned gloomy, because there were only 2 subdivine crystals in the purple zombie's hand. The third one had disappeared. How is this possible? Why did one of them disappear? The black-robed young man could not understand what had happened. However, in the next moment, he glanced around and shouted coldly, "Who dares to touch my things? Get out here!" His voice was filled with boundless killing intent. When the surrounding people heard this, they were shocked. What's going on? Did someone secretly attack? However, they did not find anything unusual. "Boy, what should we do?" The crimson dragon asked on the other side. "Snatch it?" Lin Xian's voice was sonorous and without any hesitation. He was not satisfied with only 1 subdivine crystal. Therefore, he had to get the other 2. "Let's attack together. I'll deal with the purple zombie, and you deal with the black-robed young man," Lin Xian said to the crimson dragon. "No problem." The crimson dragon nodded. Ben Huang hasn't exercised for a long time. Then he let out a long howl. His sinister voice rang out. "Ha, it was your grandfather who did it. Brat, hurry up and hand over the substandard divine crystal. Otherwise, Ben Huang will tear you apart." This voice was like a ghost howl, but it was also like a wolf's howl, causing everyone's scalp to go numb. The next moment, the figure of the crimson dragon appeared. Lin Xian also appeared in the void. "What? There's someone else beside him." Seeing this scene, the crowd was astonished. They had not noticed the other party's existence at all. Thinking of this, they were shocked when the black-robed youth saw Lin Xian and the crimson dragon. His face immediately turned gloomy. "Damn it, it's you again. You dare to appear in front of me? I've said it before. This time, I will definitely kill the 2 of you and refine you into my mummies." The black-robed youth's voice was extremely sinister. Then, with a furious roar, he charged towards Lin Xian like a bolt of lightning. Attack! Lin Xian also shouted coldly. Then he and the Crimson Dragon flew forward together. Lin Xian faced the purple zombie, while the Crimson Dragon charged towards the black-robed youth. Soon, the black-robed youth and the Crimson Dragon were engaged in a battle. Terrifying energy spread out in all directions. On the other side, Lin Xian faced the purple zombie. He waved his hand and blasted forward with shocking power. The purple zombie emitted a purple mist from its body, forming a purple light. Then, the purple zombie let out a deep roar. It sounded like the roar of a devil from hell, which made people's hair stand on end. His gray eyes emitted a terrifying light. It was eerie and extremely terrifying. Whoosh! The purple zombie moved like a bolt of lightning, leaving a series of afterimages in the air. It charged towards Lin Xian quickly. Then, it struck out with both of its palms and collided with Lin Xian's energy. The explosion sounded as if it was going to tear the starry sky apart. At the same time, the surrounding space shook violently. This exchange of blows caused everyone's eyes to widen in shock. A trace of fear appeared on their faces as they continuously retreated. So powerful, they can actually contend with the black-robed youth and the purple zombie? Who are they? The surrounding warriors were shocked when they saw this scene. Even the disciples of the Golden Light sect and the moon-worshipping cult could not believe it. They had experienced the strength of the black-robed youth and the purple zombie. They could easily kill them. Now, there was someone who could fight them to a standstill. This was too shocking. Damn it, how is this possible? The black-robed youth was also shocked. He did not expect that there would be someone who could contend with him and his purple zombie. But soon, he calmed down. He was very confident in his and the purple zombie's strength. He believed that it would not be long before he could kill them. On the other side, Lin Xian let out a long roar. He clenched his fist and pulled out the 9 Serenity demonic sword. The pitch-black sword light soared into the sky with a biting, cold, murderous aura. It was going to shatter the entire sky. At this moment, the surrounding people's faces changed. What a terrifying sword chi! Who is this kid? Could he be a disciple of a sword sect? Exclamations came one after another. Lin Xian held the 9 Serenity demonic sword in his hand. His entire body was extremely powerful. He struck out with his sword. The terrifying black sword light flew rapidly in the air, as if it could tear the entire sky apart. Clang! The sword slashed directly at the purple zombie. It immediately cut through the fog around it and slammed into its body. With a bang, the purple zombie was sent flying. It smashed 3 mountains in a row before it stopped. Not only that, there was a sword mark on its body. Although it was not deep, it was very obvious. What? He hurt the purple zombie? How is this possible? The surrounding martial artists exclaimed, especially the disciples of the Golden Sword sect and the moon-worshipping cult. They even widened their eyes in disbelief. He had personally experienced the strength of the purple zombie. Even if they attacked it with their full strength, they could not break through its defense. Moreover, they also knew that the purple zombie was made from the corpse of a 6-star prince. It could be said that it was extremely powerful. As 4-star kings, they could not break through at all. But now, someone had hurt the purple zombie. And the other party's cultivation? Thinking of this, they hurriedly looked over. Then, their minds went blank. They were stunned. The other party was only a 2-star king. How was this possible? Impossible. On the other side, the black-robed youth was also shocked. His face was extremely ugly. Chapter 1586. He could feel that his purple zombie was injured, but he refused to believe that his opponent could hurt his purple zombie even if he was beaten to death. Damn this guy! How did he do it? Is it because of the sword in his hand? The black-robed youth had an extraordinary background and was even more knowledgeable. He naturally recognized that the sword in Lin Xian's hand was extraordinary and made his hair stand on end. Earth rank artifact! Damn it! You actually have an Earth rank artifact! His voice was ferocious, and his eyes shone with a terrifying light of greed. There was nothing he could do about it. Earth-class artifacts were not something that could be found on the continent, even in this true spirit token world. Not everyone in the Eastern Wasteland could own one. At least no one here had one. Ha ha! God is helping me. I didn't expect to find an Earth-rank artifact on top of a supreme-grade subdivine crystal. Kid, I have to say, you're really a treasure hunter. This Earth-rank artifact is mine. With that, he let out a ferocious laugh. Like a bolt of lightning, he abandoned the dark red divine dragon and charged towards Lin Xian. At the same time, he waved the wooden stick in his hand, sending out black lights that were like a black scythe of death. Clang, clang, clang. Lin Xian waved the 9 Serenity demonic sword and cut all the attacks apart. At the same time, the crowd was in an uproar. Everyone was extremely shocked. Earth rank artifact. He's actually using an Earth rank artifact. No wonder he's so powerful. No wonder he could hurt the purple zombie. It's the power of an Earth rank artifact. Who is he? Why does he have an Earth rank artifact? And it doesn't look like an ordinary one. Who cares who he is? Since we've met him, there's no reason for us not to attack. The Golden Light Sect's warriors sneered. That's right. He's just a 2-star king. How can he have such a treasure? Ridiculous. Only our moon-worshipping cult deserves such a treasure. On the other side, the moon-worshipping cult's disciples were also shocked. In the next moment, they actually stood up together and flew towards Lin Xian. From the looks of it, they wanted to kill Lin Xian and seize the Earth Step treasure. Humph! Seeing the scene, Lin Xian coldly snorted. Immediately, he waved his demonic sword, and 8 sword chi slashed downward. He didn't hold back at all in this sword strike. Since the other party dared to have designs on him, then he naturally had to pay the price. Pung pung pung. 8 streaks of sword chi, carrying a sharp light and monstrous killing intent, ruthlessly bombarded the bodies of the disciples of the Golden Light Sect and the moon-worshipping cult. Immediately, they were sent flying, and blood dyed the ground red. What? So strong. Seeing the scene, the people who came later all stopped in their tracks, their expressions uncertain. They had originally wanted to seize the other party's Earth Step treasure, but now it seemed that it would be difficult to do so. The other party's strength was beyond their expectations. To be able to send 8 experts flying in an instant was definitely not something an ordinary person could do. Therefore, for a moment, no one dared to step forward. However, they did not give up. Humph! Let the kid hold on for a while. When he and the black-robed man are both injured, then we'll make our move. Good idea. Let's do that. At this time, the black-robed man in the sky also revealed a hideous smile. He raised his hands and continuously struck the wooden stick in his hand. Suddenly, a very strange sound was heard. It was very low and strange, and it made one's scalp tingle. However, the purple zombie let out a long roar, and a terrifying light appeared in his eyes. It was as if he had been reborn and obtained a powerful strength. Then he let out a long roar, and his body swayed. Like a purple lightning bolt, he once again pounced toward Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian was not flustered at all. He was very calm. Then he waved the 9 darkness demonic sword, and a terrifying sword chi slashed forward, ruthlessly slashing forward. The sword light flashed, and it was incomparably sharp. At the same time, the Crimson Dragon also quickly made his move. Suddenly, a terrifying palm shadow appeared quickly, forming a red hurricane that spiraled in the air. Vaguely, there was the shadow of a dragon circling around. Then, the red hurricane shone with a cold light and rushed forward quickly. Bang, 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 bang. The huge purple zombie was once again pushed back. What? How is this possible? The black-robed man's face turned ugly. He had already used a secret skill to stimulate the purple zombie's energy, but he did not expect to be pushed back. How can these two be so powerful? Brat, you forced me to do this. I'm going to kill all of you. The black-robed man's face was unusually hideous. Then he struck the wooden stick again, and a strange rhythm was heard in the air. Roar, roar. As soon as the sound was heard, the purple zombie became even more violent. An endless aura of death was emitted from his body, and it quickly spread in all directions. At this moment, he was like a demon king, and he was extremely terrifying. Not only that, the black-robed man came to the purple zombie's body again and merged with it. Suddenly, an even more terrifying energy gushed out and shrouded the entire area. The entire space seemed to have turned into azure hell. Kill. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon did not hold back either. Both of them exploded with dazzling energy. The battle was extremely terrifying. Sword Qi soared into the sky, and the dragon's shadow roared, shaking the entire area. Countless mountains were turned into rubble. Brat, kill him quickly. The Crimson Dragon snorted coldly, and then dripped a drop of dragon blood. Okay. Lin Xian nodded and took the drop of dragon blood. Then he smeared it on the blade of the 9 hidden demonic sword. Suddenly, the long sword emitted a strange energy. Red and black light intertwined, causing the entire space to shake violently. How terrifying! What kind of technique is this? Everyone felt their scalps go numb, and they kept retreating. On the opposite side, the black-robed man saw this scene, and his heart beat wildly. Even the purple zombie that he was sitting on started to roar uneasily, as if it had met its natural enemy. Damn it! How is this possible? Destroy! The black-robed man roared ferociously, Heaven ferocious palm. Suddenly, the purple zombie stretched out both palms, and 2 palms that were like mountains pushed out horizontally. On the other side, Lin Xian also slashed down with his sword. This sword was extremely sharp. Moreover, it contained the power of dragon blood. The Crimson Dragon was a pure-blooded dragon. His blood was very masculine and could destroy all evil things, coupled with the sharpness of the 9 hidden demonic sword. Even if the purple zombie was refined from a 6-star king's corpse, it would not be able to resist at all. Sure enough, in the next moment, the sharp sword light fell and directly cut the 2 purple palms. Then, it ruthlessly slashed at the purple zombie. Puff! The clouds rolled, and the wind howled. The entire space shook violently as if it had been cut in half by the sword. What? Damn it! The black-robed man was horrified. His body swayed, and he left the purple zombie. The purple zombie also roared angrily. Then it was enveloped by the sword light and was cut in half. Everyone was stunned. They could not believe that Lin Xian had killed the purple zombie. This technique was too heaven-defying. Chapter 1587. Everyone was stunned. They couldn't believe that Lin Fan had killed the purple zombie. This kind of method was seriously too heaven-defying. Impossible. Damn it, that's impossible. The black-robed man was sent flying. This was because he had been swept by the aftershock of the sword Qi. Although he was not seriously injured, the Qi and blood in his body were extremely chaotic and surging nonstop. However, he couldn't care less about that now. He was in a frenzy, because his purple zombie had been split into 2 halves, He couldn't believe it. The purple zombie was refined from the corpse of a 6-star king. It was terrifying. The black-robed man could defeat all the 4-star king realm martial artists. Even if he encountered a 5-star king, he could still put up a fight. But now, a 2-star king had actually destroyed his purple zombie. Brat, just you wait. How dare you destroy my zombie? I won't let you go. The black-robed man gritted his teeth. His face was gloomy. Then he turned to leave. He didn't dare to stay any longer. His most powerful zombie had been destroyed. You want to leave? Sure. Leave the subgrade divine crystal. Lin Xian's figure flashed and blocked his path. What? You dare to take the subgrade divine crystal? You're courting death. The black-robed man was furious. Why are you wasting your breath on him? Just kill him and take the subgrade divine crystal. The Crimson Dragon said coldly. Lin Xian nodded. It seemed like that was the only way. His body emitted a sharp aura again. Rays of sword radiance surrounded him. The black-robed man's face changed. He had seen Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon's power. It wouldn't be difficult for them to kill him. However, he was unwilling to hand over the subdivine crystal just like that. Therefore, he roared and waved his hand. He summoned 6 mummies again and charged forward. As for himself, his figure flashed, and he fled into the distance like a black bolt of lightning. You want to leave? The Crimson Dragon snorted. He waved his dragon claw. A huge dragon claw came crashing down. It was like a huge heaven and earth cage, sealing the entire space in an instant. Pung! The black-robed man crashed into the huge dragon claw seal and was bounced back. His face immediately became even uglier. How dare you touch me? You must be tired of living. I'm from the Chasing Corpse sect. Seeing that he could not escape, the black-robed man could only reveal his identity to threaten everyone. What? The Chasing Corpse sect is actually that sect. Damn it! Why did they come to the Eastern Wasteland? Everyone was extremely shocked, and their faces were filled with horror. This was because the Chasing Corpse sect was an extremely evil and ancient sect. No one knew how long they had existed, but they seemed to have existed since ancient times. Not only that, this sect was very strange. They would refine corpses and use them as weapons to fight. He had even transformed himself into something that was neither human nor ghost. It could be said to be very strange. Under normal circumstances, no one was willing to provoke them. However, over the years, the Chasing Corpse sect had disappeared without a trace. Everyone thought that they would never appear again. Who would have thought that they would appear again? The Crimson Dragon also frowned. However, he had already guessed it. On the other side, Lin Xian shouted coldly, What Chasing Corpse sect? I've never heard of it. If you don't hand over the subdivine crystal today, don't even think about leaving. To be honest, he had indeed never heard of the Chasing Corpse sect. Even if he had, so what? He had the Dragon Sword Soul. As long as he had enough energy as motivation, his future would be limitless. How could he be afraid of the Chasing Corpse sect? Therefore, he did not hesitate to attack with his sword. You're courting death. The black-robed man's pupils constricted. He was extremely furious. He did not expect that after he revealed his identity, his opponent still dared to attack him. Did he not know how terrifying the Chasing Corpse sect was? Was he not afraid of the Chasing Corpse sect's revenge? However, before he could think further, the terrifying sword radiance had already slashed toward him. You're courting death. Get lost. The black-robed man roared and attacked with his palm. Instantly, the sword radiance was shattered. However, in the next moment, an even sharper sword radiance surged out again. Azure Dragon Break. The black dragon was mixed with red blood. At that time, the dragon blood of the Crimson Dragon was extremely powerful. In an instant, the black-robed man was engulfed. Boom, boom, boom. Heaven and earth lost their color as the sword radiance swept across. The entire space fell into chaos. When everything disappeared, the black-robed man was no longer there. There was only a huge pit in the ground. He was killed. Seeing the scene, everyone's scalp went numb. They could not believe it. Such a terrifying black-robed man was killed with a single strike. This was too unbelievable. At this moment, they looked at Lin Xian with fear in their eyes. Although this young man was only a 2-star king, his strength had already surpassed theirs. In fact, everyone felt like running away. They no longer dared to have any thoughts about Lin Xian's sword. Lin Xian waved his hand and put away the 2 subdivine crystals. Then he looked around, intimidating everyone. With a cold snort, he and the Crimson Dragon turned into 2 streaks of light and disappeared in the air. After they had left for a long time, the surrounding martial artists heaved a sigh of relief. It was too terrifying. The sword radiance emitted by the other party made them feel like they were suffocating. Fortunately, the other party had left and did not attack them. Otherwise, they would definitely be in deep trouble. They might even lose their lives here. On the other side, Lin Xian and the divine dragon and Hong moved and arrived at a safe cave. Then he gave the Crimson Dragon a subdivine crystal. He held the remaining 2 in his hand and quickly absorbed them. He would not keep such treasures to prevent others from snatching them away. He might as well turn them into his own strength. Pure energy surged in and turned into dazzling light that surrounded him. After half a day, Lin Xian opened his eyes. The spiritual energy in his body had increased significantly, but there was no breakthrough. This was normal. Lin Xian was not surprised. This was because the amount of energy he needed to break through was several times more than the previous time. 2 supreme grade substandard divine crystals were not enough at all. However, the harvest this time was not small. Lin Xian's strength had increased once again. At least among the 4-star kings, he could do whatever he wanted. On the other side, the divine dragon and Hong had also absorbed the subdivine crystal. She felt like she had not had enough. The 2 discussed for a while and continued on their journey. This time, they flew towards the deepest part of Feng Mountain. This was because there had already been a shocking change. Someone had used a powerful technique to tear open the barrier inside, causing endless ghostly qi to surge out. However, this change also allowed the people outside to finally be able to enter. Chapter 1588. The ghostly qi in Feng Mountain was dense. The further one went in, the more fearful it was. In the end, Lin Xian had no choice but to activate the Great Dragon Sword Soul to protect himself. The Crimson Dragon also activated its defense, and the dragon blood in its body surged. At this point, there were already many martial artists around. They were in groups of 3 or 5 or a dozen or so, forming small groups. There was almost no one who fought alone like Lin Xian. Therefore, many people kept sizing up Lin Xian. However, no one rashly made a move. That was because those who could come here were not fools. Moreover, they knew that since Lin Xian could appear here, he must have the strength to do so. They did not have extra energy to care about Lin Xian, because there was another change in front of them. One of the mountain ranges was penetrated, and countless ghostly qi emerged. It was as black as ink and incomparably monstrous. Not only that, but the tens of thousands of corpses buried in the mountain range turned into zombies and ghosts under the infusion of the ghostly qi. Tens of thousands of them charged toward these martial artists. Kill! Furious roars rang out one after another. These cultivators did not hesitate and displayed their powerful strength to fight back. That was because they could not move forward without killing these ghosts. Among them, there were a few figures who were extremely powerful. Even Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon were shocked. The aura of these people was too powerful. The blood in their bodies rumbled, and even produced the sound of thunder. So powerful. Who are they? Lin Xian was extremely shocked. Almighty! The Crimson Dragon's expression was also solemn. When a martial artist reached the level of a 7-star king or above, they would be given a title, which was Almighty. This kind of person was too terrifying. With a raise of their hand, they could tear mountains and rivers apart and pluck the stars and capture the moon. It was most appropriate to call them Almighty. Almighty! Hearing that, Lin Xian was shocked. He looked over and thought, is this the existence of a 7-star king or above? It's really terrifying. Just the aura emitted by those people was enough to make him shudder with fear. It seemed that this was a true, peerless expert. Sure enough, the few almighties at the front harumphed coldly. Immediately, they waved their palms, and numerous gigantic hands descended from the sky. In an instant, all the zombies and ghosts below were killed. As for the surrounding martial artists, they were all shocked and retreated one after another, afraid that they would be implicated. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon also retreated to a safe place. In front of them, ghostly aura filled the sky, and energy surged. Soon, a few sky-covering hands destroyed all the ghostly creatures and zombies. This was the power of a powerful being. With a raise of his hand, he was able to wipe out tens of thousands of ghosts. At this moment, everyone was stunned. Humph! You're just a mere ghost. You want to stop me? How laughable! A cold voice rang out, causing the void to tremble. It was a middle-aged man in white robes. His body was surrounded by a resplendent saber light. Who would have thought that an ancient tomb would appear in the Feng Shan fan? How rare! On the other side, there was a hearty laugh. Then, a monk appeared in the sky. His entire body was shining with Buddhist light. The light was so bright that it suppressed all the ghostly aura around him. Master's dermic power is getting purer and purer. The diamond prajna technique has probably been cultivated to the 7th level. Another old voice rang out. Then, an immortal-like old man appeared. He was surrounded by flames and wore a robe. He looked like an immortal. Dan Chenzi, you're here as well. The others looked over. Lin Xian, on the other hand, was shocked beyond words. Although he didn't know the old Taoist in the sky, he was very familiar with his name. Dan Chenzi was the sect master of Danzong. In other words, the old Taoist in the sky was the current sect master of Danzong, Dan Chenzi. He didn't expect that even the sect master of Danzong would come. Lin Xian was extremely shocked. Kid, be careful. The Crimson Dragon reminded him. The blue wave pill appearing in Danzong might have something to do with Dan Chenzi. Lin Xian nodded. Indeed, it wouldn't make sense if Dan Chenzi didn't know about such a big thing. He just didn't know if it was Dan Chenzi's doing. But no matter what, he didn't want to have anything to do with him. After that, 2 more powerful beings appeared. Now, there were a total of 5 powerful beings standing in the sky, causing the void to distort and distort. One of them was a white-robed, middle-aged man surrounded by blade light. He was a powerful figure of the Golden Light sect. The monk was a powerful figure of the White Horse Temple. However, Buddhism was mainly in the Western Desert and was rare in the Eastern Wilderness. But there were still some. The White Horse Temple was one of the more famous Buddhist holy lands. Dan Chenzi was the sect master of Danzong. There was also a middle-aged woman. She was a powerful figure of the moon-worshipping sect. The last one was surrounded by ghostly aura that made people's scalps tingle. Many martial artists even thought that he was a zombie or a ghost. However, he was indeed a powerful cultivator. He was a powerful figure of the Chasing Corpse sect. When this powerful figure of the Chasing Corpse sect appeared, the other powerful figures immediately frowned. This was because the Chasing Corpse sect was usually in the southern mountains, and there were almost none in the eastern wilderness. But now he had appeared. It was very strange. Humph, I didn't expect the Chasing Corpse sect to come here. What a surprise. Pu Shan, a powerful figure of the White Horse Temple, said coldly. They were Buddhists who subdued demons and devils, and they cultivated the most yang techniques. The other party obviously cultivated the Gul Dao, which was the opposite of Buddhist techniques. When the two of them met, their auras collided, causing countless cracks to appear in the void. Why, can I come? Mount Fong is very suitable for our Chasing Corpse sect. The powerful figure of the Chasing Corpse sect said coldly. Your voice is like a ghost. It makes people's scalps tingle. Old bald donkey, if you dare to be disrespectful to me again, I'll refine you into a zombie. The powerful figure of the Chasing Corpse sect glared at Pu Shan and said ferociously. The Buddhist aura on the other party's body made him very uncomfortable. Humph, refine me into a zombie? You're really boasting shamelessly. Why don't I purify you first? Pu Shan shouted coldly. His body shone brightly, and he walked in the void like a Buddha. Humph, I'm not afraid of you. The two of them refused to accept each other, and their auras became stronger and stronger. However, at this time, Dan Chenzi waved his sleeve and said loudly, Why are you two so angry? Since we're all here for the great ancient tomb, there's no need to quarrel here. Why don't we temporarily work together to break all the seals? What do you think? Okay, the middle-aged man of the Golden Light sect nodded first. Then the woman in red from the moon-worshipping sect also agreed. In the end, the powerful figure of the Chasing Corpse sect and Pu Shan of the White Horse Temple snorted coldly, but they did not refuse. Chapter 1589. Although they were mighty figures with immense power, the great ancient tomb was no child's play. It was bound to be fraught with danger and countless seals. It was indeed a good idea for the five of them to work together temporarily. In that case, let's go, Dan Chenzi said, as he rose into the air. The other almighties followed suit. The gloomy elder from the Chasing Corpse sect frowned. He turned his head abruptly and stared at the crowd below. His gaze turned into a black saber light that pierced into the void. Oh no! In the crowd, Lin Xian's expression changed drastically. His body swayed and formed a clone on the spot. Then his real body instantly hid. Poof! In the next moment, the clone was pierced and then shattered into pieces. And when the surrounding martial artists saw this, there was a burst of exclamations, extremely terrified. They did not expect the mighty figure in the sky to attack them. Damn it, what are you doing? The middle-aged man from the sect of Golden Light's expression darkened when he saw this. That was because there were many disciples from the sect of Golden Light in the direction where the mighty figure from the Chasing Corpse sect attacked. The others also looked over with unfriendly expressions. Normally, people like them wouldn't make a move against juniors. However, this mighty figure from the Chasing Corpse sect dared to attack. It was unbearable. Faced with the questioning gazes of the others, the mighty figure from the Chasing Corpse sect was not afraid. Among the cultivators below, I discovered someone with corpse ghost chi. He must have fought with the disciples of my Chasing Corpse sect. Of course, we have to kill this kind of person. Hearing this, the disciples below twitched their mouths and felt their scalps go numb. He had to be killed just because he fought with the Chasing Corpse sect disciples? That was too overbearing. However, Pu Shan shouted coldly, If you dare attack again, don't blame me for not holding back and suppressing you. The middle-aged man from the sect of Golden Light and the woman in red from the moon worshipping cult also looked at him with unfriendly gazes. After all, this guy from the Chasing Corpse sect did not play by the rules. He was too much of a threat to the disciples of their sect. However, the mighty figure from the Chasing Corpse sect said coldly, Since that person has been killed, I won't attack. All right, let's go, Dan Chinzi said loudly. At this moment, Dan Chinzi said in a clear voice. Afterwards, the five of them nodded and turned into streaks of light again, flying forward. In the crowd, Lin Xian also heaved a sigh of relief. Just now, he had used a clone to dodge the other party's attack. At the same time, he used a secret technique to hide his aura. At the same time, he activated the Great Dragon Sword Soul to eliminate the weak, ghostly aura on his body. Then he heaved a sigh of relief. It was too terrifying. If it weren't for his quick reflexes and the many secret techniques in his hands, he would have been killed just now. Damn chasing corpse sect. Lin Xian gritted his teeth, his gaze dark. From now on, he would be even more careful. But now he didn't have any unusual aura on his body, so the other party shouldn't be able to discover him. After that, he mixed in with the crowd of martial artists and set off forward. With five mighty figures paving the way, their speed was extremely fast. Even if any powerful ghosts appeared, they would be killed with a single palm strike. Furthermore, not long ago, two skeletal creatures over 300 meters tall had appeared. However, they had been completely crushed by the moon summoned by that woman from the moon-worshipping sect. This method caused everyone to be extremely shocked once again. Lin Xian also knew that although that woman looked to be in her 30s, her true age was probably over 1,000 years old. It was probably the same for the other people. Finally, the group entered the deepest part of Feng Mountain. There, endless ghostly aura surged and turned into four ghostly dragons. They circled around each other and dragged a giant bronze coffin. The aura was too terrifying. One look at it would make one tremble. If it weren't for the five mighty figures standing in front, the surrounding martial artists would have been unable to withstand it. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon blended in with the crowd and looked forward. At this time, He Tu also exclaimed, "It's a giant bronze coffin. This ancient tomb is too strange. What is it trying to do?" Lin Xian was puzzled. What's wrong? What's wrong with the bronze coffin? At the side, the Crimson Dragon explained, "Normally, wooden coffins are used. Very few people use metal coffins. Any coffin made of metal is extremely strange. I didn't expect that there would be such a bronze coffin in this ancient tomb. As expected, the five mighty figures in front frowned when they saw this scene. It's actually a bronze coffin. How surprising. The ghostly aura around it is too thick. I can't see clearly." As the few of them conversed, Pu Shan of White Horse Temple waved his hand. A Buddha seal pushed out and tore apart the thick, ghostly aura. Immediately, the scene inside appeared, clearly in front of everyone's eyes. Then, everyone was shocked and sucked in a breath of cold air. Even the five mighty figures' pupils constricted, and their faces turned solemn. That was because they discovered that there was a crystal the size of a millstone near the bronze coffin. It was shining brightly. At the same time, there was an extremely pure energy. Divine crystal. The mighty figures were shocked and could not believe it. After the surrounding martial artists heard it, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. Divine crystal. They did not expect that crystal to be a divine crystal. Furthermore, it was such a large piece. At this moment, even He Tu and the Crimson Dragon were extremely shocked. Divine crystals were true treasures. They were even more precious than supreme-grade substandard divine crystals. A piece of divine crystal was equivalent to countless supreme-grade substandard divine crystals, let alone such a large piece. The Crimson Dragon immediately became excited. If he could obtain that piece of divine crystal, he could immediately recover his cultivation and even improve it. Lin Xian was also extremely shocked when he heard about it. Then he looked ahead with a fiery gaze. He did not expect that such a peerless treasure would appear here. As for He Tu, he directly said, Don't even think about it. The two of you have no chance. Let's not talk about that bronze coffin first. It's definitely not that simple. Even if there are 5 mighty figures here, you won't be able to defeat them. So, don't even think about that divine crystal. Lin Xian sighed. As for the Crimson Dragon, he was also extremely unwilling. F***CK. If Ben Huang was in his prime, he would have snatched it long ago. In front of them, the 5 mighty figures also had fiery gazes because they were the ones most likely to obtain the divine crystal. However, although their gazes were fiery, they did not dare to act rashly. This was because the scene was too strange. A person who had been dead for God knows how many years was being nourished with such a precious divine crystal. What is he trying to do? Does he really want to be reborn? Whose tomb is this? How could he have such a bold idea? Yeah, not only was he buried in a place like Feng Mountain, but he was also being nourished with a peerless treasure like the divine crystal. What is he trying to do? Chapter 1590. The few of them were discussing with uncertain expressions. The surrounding warriors exclaimed. Naturally, they didn't dare to have any ideas and could only watch the show. Lin Xian didn't stay idle either. He secretly performed a technique and prepared to investigate. As the successor of the Dragon Sword, he had obtained many martial arts techniques from the 4th successor of the Dragon Sword, as well as He Tu's teachings. Therefore, the secret techniques in his hands were endless. For example, techniques that could hide one's aura so that even Almighties couldn't detect it. For example, the cloning technique and the current Martial Dao Heavenly Eye. The Martial Dao Heavenly Eye was also an extremely precious divine martial art, even in those ancient families and peerless sacred grounds. It wasn't something that anyone could learn. Fortunately, He Tu had such a technique, so Lin Xian could learn it. After secretly activating the Martial Dao Heavenly Eye, Lin Xian's eyes became extremely deep, and there were even strange runes flickering. In the next moment, he looked ahead. The Martial Dao Heavenly Eye was extremely magical and claimed to be able to see through everything and distinguish between falsehood and falsehood. Sure enough, Lin Xian noticed that the ghostly aura in front of him had become much dimmer. His gaze could even directly penetrate it and land on the huge bronze coffin. Not only that, Lin Xian also discovered something even more magical. That was, his gaze was directly cast over the bronze coffin, looking inside. However, what surprised him was that there wasn't a corpse inside, but a crystal coffin. The crystal coffin was crystal clear and emitted colorful light. It was just that no one noticed it inside the bronze coffin. What's going on? It's actually a double official coffin? Lin Xian was shocked. Then he transmitted what he saw to the Crimson Dragon and Hey Tuesday. After the two heard it, they were also extremely shocked. This is incredible. What is this guy trying to do? A double coffin is very rare since ancient times. Could that guy really come back to life? The two were shocked. At this moment, Lin Xian's eyes widened because he discovered something even more unbelievable. Because Lin Xian discovered that there was a blurry shadow floating towards the bronze coffin in front of him. However, he was the only one who noticed it. The people around him didn't seem to notice it at all. Even the 5 Almighties didn't notice it. What was going on? Was that a human or a ghost? Lin Xian was shocked. He quickly activated his Martial Dao Heavenly Eye to take a closer look. This matter was too strange. There was actually someone who could avoid everyone without anyone noticing, including the 5 Almighties. That person floated towards the bronze coffin. What was he trying to do? Was it to seize the 5-colored crystal coffin or that millstone-sized divine crystal? Lin Xian didn't know, but he felt his heart beating faster. But in the next moment, when he saw that person's face, he opened his mouth wide and screamed. The reason for that was because the blurry figure before them was actually Dan Chinzi. That's right, that face was Dan Chenzi's face. It was exactly the same without any changes. At that moment, the illusory figure directly floated into the bronze coffin. It seemed like it wanted to attack the five-colored crystal coffin. What was going on? Why was it Dan Chenzi? Lin Xian didn't dare to believe it. If that illusory figure was Dan Chenzi, then who was the figure before them? Two Dan Cenzis? Or was it a secret technique clone? Lin Xian didn't know, but he realized that Dan Chenzi was too strange. Not only was he secretly stealing the bronze coffin, but he was also connected to the strange blue wave pill. He was definitely a dangerous person. However, at that moment, the middle-aged man in the golden door spoke. Since we've already discovered the coffin, let's do it. Open the coffin and see what treasures are inside. Hearing that, the other Almighties nodded and prepared to attack. Lin Xian paid special attention to Dan Chenzi. He realized that Dan Chenzi only nodded slightly and didn't say anything. It seemed like he wasn't as enthusiastic as before. At that moment, the White Horse Temple's almighty Pu Shan also turned his head and spoke to the cultivators behind him. Next, we'll break the formation. I'm afraid there will be terrifying energy spilling out. You'd better back off to avoid being affected and losing your lives. Hearing that, countless cultivators quickly retreated. They didn't dare to get any closer. If even the Almighties said so, then it would definitely be extremely dangerous. In the crowd, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon also retreated. However, Lin Xian's eyes became even more profound. He activated his martial Dao heavenly eye to the extreme. The five Almighties formed a line and walked forward. Then the ghostly aura in front of them suddenly surged. A gale swept through, causing the sky and earth to change. A terrifying cold aura was emitted from the bronze coffin. It seemed to be warning the five Almighties. Humph! The middle-aged man in the golden door snorted coldly and attacked first. He waved his arm. Suddenly, a clanging sound was heard. A huge sword light streaked across the sky, easily cutting the entire space apart. On the other side, the woman in red from the moon worshipping cult also waved her hand. Suddenly, a full moon rose in the sky. It shone brightly, causing the entire space to collapse. Pu Shan shouted in a low voice. A Buddhist seal was pushed out from his palm, emitting a dazzling light. The chasing corpse sex Almighties also sneered. He waved his sleeve. Suddenly, a ball of black light rushed forward quickly. It turned into a ghost head, circulating with a cold aura. Finally, Dan Chenzi also attacked. A sky full of flames floated in the air and rushed forward. The five Almighties attacked. It was earth-shattering. The momentum was extremely terrifying. The entire Feng mountain range shook violently as if it would collapse at any time. The bronze coffin in front of them was completely enraged. It emitted ghostly aura and connected with the surrounding formation. It condensed into 8 ghostly dragons, roaring in all directions. At that moment, the sky and earth lost their color. Countless runes and ghostly aura shone in the air. The entire space was in turmoil. The people in the distance were shocked. Their eyelids twitched wildly. Fortunately, with Pu Shan's warning, they had retreated early and arrived at a safe place. Otherwise, just the aftermath of this energy would be enough to kill them thousands of times over. Is this the power of the Almighties? They're so powerful. Lin Xian looked at the scene. He was also excited. He could not help but clench his fists. When can I reach this level of combat power? He yearned for it. It doesn't matter. As long as you have enough energy crystals, you'll reach this level sooner or later, He Tu said slowly. Hearing that, Lin Xian nodded. Then he used his martial Dao heavenly eye again and stared ahead. At the same time, he paid close attention to the scene inside the bronze coffin. The battle outside had erupted. However, an illusory figure was still sitting cross-legged inside, the bronze coffin. It seemed to be breaking the five-colored crystal coffin. However, at that moment, there was a loud boom. The entire world shook. Everyone's expression changed. They all looked over. Even Lin Xian frowned. It turned out that the formation in front of them had been broken by the five almighties. They had been strong all the way. After removing all the ghostly aura, they finally arrived in front of the bronze coffin. At that moment, the five of them could no longer remain calm. They looked at the tall bronze coffin and the millstone-sized divine crystal in front of them. Everyone was excited. Chapter 1591. However, they knew that in order to obtain the divine crystal, they had to destroy the bronze coffin first. Otherwise, they would not be able to obtain it. Everyone, this is the last step. Let's work together to open the bronze coffin and obtain the treasure. The middle-aged man from the Golden Light sect said in a deep voice. All right. Everyone nodded. Since they had already reached this step, they naturally had to work together to open the coffin. At this moment, the Chasing Corpse sect's powerhouse sneered. Everything else is easy, but the corpse inside must be mine. Whoever dares to snatch it from me, don't blame me for not showing mercy. As a member of the Chasing Corpse sect, he was most interested in the corpse inside the coffin. There must be a peerless figure buried inside the coffin. Perhaps he was even stronger than them. If they could use the corpse to refine zombies into weapons, it would be unimaginably terrifying. Humph! Hearing this, Pu Shan snorted coldly. The others were silent, but their faces were solemn. Indeed, the corpse inside was useless to them, but they did not want the other party to obtain it. That was because they did not want to increase the strength of the Chasing Corpse sect. They would talk about this after they opened the coffin. The corpse inside might have already rotted. At this moment, the woman in red from the moon worshipping cult said slowly, "The five of us will work together to attack the bronze coffin." The attack this time was much more difficult than the previous one. The bronze coffin was covered with inscriptions. Now that it was attacked, all of them flickered and formed strange runes that filled the entire void. The five powerhouses displayed their powerful strength. Their bodies flickered with dazzling light that shot into the sky. This attack was enough to flatten the entire Fengshan mountain range. However, when it hit the bronze coffin, it was like a stone sinking into the sea. It did not even cause a ripple. This scene caused everyone's expression to change drastically. The five Almighty's expressions were also extremely solemn. Everyone, I think there's no need for us to hide our strength anymore. Let's go all out. The middle-aged man from the Golden Light sect said in a deep voice. Indeed, although the powerhouses had attacked with terrifying strength, they had not gone all out. That was because they had reserved some strength for the battle for the treasure later. However, it seemed that they would not be able to open the bronze coffin without going all out. All right, looks like this is the only way. The five of them prepared to go all out. Then the five of them unleashed their full power. Their bodies exploded with dazzling light like five suns, illuminating the void. An incomparably horrifying energy burst out from the five of them. It was incomparably vast, like a river of stars that surged forward rapidly. This strike caused the sky to collapse. It was powerful to the extreme. However, the bronze coffin was too strange. Mysterious inscriptions gushed out, and together with the surrounding divine crystals providing energy, it emitted an even more resplendent radiance to resist. After the energy explosion, there was nothing in front of them. No one could see anything clearly. They could only use their soul force to capture a trace of its trajectory. As for Lin Xian, he activated his martial Dao heavenly eye and observed carefully. While the people outside were fighting ferociously, the illusory figure inside the bronze coffin did not stop. His fingers slid, forming a series of special trajectories, and slapped the five-colored crystal coffin. At this moment, Lin Xian felt a strange sensation. He saw strange runes fly out from the five-colored crystal coffin, floating in the air. Then it disappeared. However, the illusory figure did not seem to notice the scene at all, and the surrounding people did not notice it either. Could it be that I'm the only one who saw it again? Lin Xian was shocked, and then he was overjoyed. Although he did not know what those strange runes represented, he could feel that they contained powerful energy. Remember it. At this moment, Lin Xian did not hesitate at all, and activated his martial Dao heavenly eye to the extreme. He used his heart to remember those flickering runes in his mind. At this moment, Lin Xian's mind was empty, and he forgot everything around him. There was only one flickering rune in his eyes, and all of this was only seen by him. The surrounding people, including the five mighty figures and the mysterious illusory figure in the bronze coffin, did not see it. However, when the last rune flickered and disappeared in the sky, the five-colored crystal coffin suddenly trembled. Then the bronze coffin slowly opened, an endless ghost chi rushed out, and the five-layered crystal coffin flew out from inside. What? There's another one! And it's a five-colored crystal coffin. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. Even the five almighties were stunned. They did not expect that there was not a corpse in the coffin, but another crystal coffin. What the hell is going on? They could not understand at all. At this moment, Dan Chenzi's expression was extremely gloomy. His eyes were filled with endless anger. He snorted coldly, and the illusory figure in the bronze coffin quickly disappeared, turning into a wisp of green smoke and returning to his body. Then he no longer cared about anything else. He reached out a hand and grabbed in front of him. That's right, the illusory figure from before was released by him. He hid it from the other four mighty figures and secretly peeked at the five-colored crystal coffin, wanting to know the secrets inside. But he did not expect that the five-colored crystal coffin would fly out by itself. This made him extremely shocked and at the same time infuriated. Because if he had a little more time, he might have been able to open the coffin and obtain the secrets inside. But now, all of that was gone. Therefore, he had to make a move and obtain the five-colored crystal coffin before anyone else. Dan Chenzi's move was so sudden that the four mighty figures could not react in time. But the five-colored crystal coffin flickered with light, and then like a shocking rainbow, it turned into a ray of light and flew into the sky with a divine crystal. Boom! The void in front of him exploded, and the five-colored crystal coffin quickly dodged. Humph! Where do you think you're going? Dan Chenzi roared angrily, and then with a flash of his body, he turned into a ray of white light and instantly rushed over. He would not let the five-colored crystal coffin go. The other four were also stunned, but soon they came back to their senses, and their bodies flickered as they chased after Dan Chenzi. In an instant, the five mighty figures disappeared into the sky. Only the martial artists on the ground were left behind. Extremely shocked, Lin Xian was also astonished. He had never expected something like this to happen. It must have something to do with the runes he obtained. What exactly are these strange runes? Did Dan Chenzi think of them too? Lin Xian was extremely shocked. However, now was not the time to think about these things. He would ask He too after he left. The most important thing now was to leave this place. However, just as he was about to call the Crimson Dragon to leave, the situation changed again. Chapter 1592. Lin Xian was about to ask the Crimson Dragon and the Snow-White Monkey to leave when there was another change in front of them. In the bronze coffin, other than the colorful crystal coffin, there were countless treasures. After the coffin was opened, They were carried out by the ghostly aura and scattered in all directions. Look, treasures have fallen. Let's go and grab them. Ha ha, we're rich. Amazing treasures. We must grab more. Frenzied voices could be heard. The surrounding martial artists had all gone crazy. Their bodies swayed, and they rushed in all directions. Kid, this is a good chance. Grab them quickly. The Crimson Dragon was also crazy. He used a secret technique and split into 8 dragon shadows. They rushed in all directions to grab the treasures that had fallen. The snow-white monkey was also hugging a small shabby ball and collecting the treasures. Lin Xian also took action, but he only collected the treasures around him. He did not grab the treasures that were further away. He did not want to attract too much attention. Although these treasures were good, they were far inferior to the strange runes that he had obtained. Those were runes that even the 5 Almighties could not obtain, but he had obtained them. Therefore, he only wanted to return to a safe place. Lin Xian sent a voice transmission to the Crimson Dragon and the Snow-White Monkey, asking them to stop and leave this place quickly. The Crimson Dragon naturally knew that a tall tree would attract the wind. Therefore, he did his best to grab the treasures and was ready to leave. The group of people moved and quickly flew outside. However, at this moment, the void fluctuated and a cold light condensed and slashed at them. Suddenly, the place where Lin Xian was standing was penetrated, and a bottomless black hole appeared. Damn it! Someone is attacking us. Lin Xian's face was gloomy. He did not expect to be targeted. The Crimson Dragon was also mad. Damn it! Who is it? Come out! How dare you attack Ben Huang? Ben Huang will tear you apart. He was too angry that someone dared to attack him. How audacious! Even the Snow-White Monkey was waving its paws in anger. It was very dissatisfied. A figure appeared in the sky. His entire body was wrapped in light, making it impossible to see whether he was real or fake. However, that pair of ice-cold eyes were like the edge of a blade, causing people's hearts to turn cold. Who are you? Lin Xian asked coldly. Who I am is not important. What's important is that you hand over everything, and I can spare you. Otherwise, you'll have to stay on Feng Mountain as ghosts. Humph, what shameless boasting. The Crimson Dragon was furious. With a wave of its claw, a dragon shadow roared and rushed upward. Netherworld finger. That person flicked his finger, and a black finger light quickly flew downwards. There were a total of 5 finger lights. Each of them was incomparably black and had a terrifying aura flowing around them. Spurt, spurt. 5 pitch-black finger lights, like divine swords of the netherworld, quickly pierced through the dragon's shadow. It's useless. You can't escape. Just hand over everything obediently. That person said coldly. Many surrounding cultivators also saw this scene and immediately whispered to each other. That must be Lu Tianyi from the Golden Light sect. Yes, it's him. I didn't expect him to make a move. He's a late-stage 4-star king. Among the 4-star kings, almost no one is his match. Who are those people? They're actually targeted by Lu Tianyi. I'm afraid they're doomed this time. Everyone was discussing. Golden Light sect? Hearing this, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes and looked up. You really want to make a move? His eyes flickered as the great dragon sword soul in his body circulated. Of course, the supreme grade subdivine crystal isn't something you can have. Hand it over. Lu Tianyi said slowly with great confidence in his eyes. He had long had his eyes on Lin Xian because he had heard from his junior brother that Lin Xian had 2 supreme grade subdivine crystals. Therefore, he attacked Lin Xian. So, you're actually after the supreme grade subdivine crystals. In that case, I can't let you live. Lin Xian's voice was cold as light bloomed in his eyes. I'm in a hurry, so I can only deal with you quickly. Humph, shameless boasting. You want to deal with me? You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth." Above, Lu Qianni revealed a trace of disdain. Then he waved his finger again, and 5 nether fingers flew out quickly. Every finger was as black as ink and flickered with cold light as they pierced through the void. However, Lin Xian snorted coldly as he clenched his fists and punched out. The resplendent fist was like the sun, and terrifying waves of air rolled as it directly shattered all the nether fingers. In the next moment, Lin Xian struck out with the 9 darkness demonic sword, and his entire person was swift and fierce to the extreme. On the demonic sword, black sword light circulated rapidly, and sword chi flickered as it slashed through the void. So powerful! Who is he? The surrounding cultivators were shocked and retreated one after another. They originally thought that Lin Xian and the others were dead for sure, but now it seemed that it wasn't necessarily the case. The aura he displayed was too powerful. It shocked them to the core, especially that demonic sword. It was too terrifying. Earth-grade artifact. Very good. It's also mine. Above, Lu Qianni nodded with satisfaction. Then he waved his hand and took out a golden seal. Boom. Endless thunder resounded, surrounding the surroundings. The surroundings were surrounded by multicolored light like a resplendent sun. It was more like a golden sword light that slashed towards Lin Xian. F***CK. That's the golden light seal. Seeing the golden light seal, many people were shocked, and their scalps went numb. The golden light seal was an ultimate technique of the golden light sect. It was extremely powerful and was extremely domineering, terrifying to the extreme. With this golden light seal, Lu Qianni should be able to contend with a 5-star king. That's for sure. I'm afraid those people are going to be unlucky. Everyone discussed animatedly. One could imagine how terrifying the golden light seal was. Above, Lu Qianni held the golden light seal in one hand. His entire person was like a god of war as he pressed down with the golden seal. Boom. Boundless golden light shone as the golden seal covered the sky. It was like a golden mountain that came crashing down. Everywhere it passed, the void shattered. Lin Xian was fearless. He held the 9 darkness demonic sword in his hand, and the aura on his body was extremely sharp. Then he waved his arm and slashed out. Azure Dragon Break. Boom. The monstrous sword light turned into a black dragon and rushed out, causing the entire void to rumble. In the next moment, the two collided, and a terrifying light burst out. The heavens and earth shook, and the void shattered. The terrifying shockwave blasted all the surrounding martial artists away. The golden light that filled the sky was split apart by the sword. It was like a golden wave that slapped to both sides. Not only that, the golden mountain formed by the golden light seal was pierced through, and a transparent black hole appeared. Clang! The black dragon roared, and collided with the golden light seal, immediately pushing Lu Qianni back. He was pushed back? That's impossible. Seeing this scene, everyone was extremely shocked. They did not expect that the incomparably powerful Lu Qianni would be pushed back. Who was that young man? How could he be so powerful? Chapter 1593. In the sky, Lu Qianni was also extremely shocked, but soon after, a smile appeared on his face. As expected of an earth-grade artifact, it's indeed powerful. This sword, I want it. With a loud laugh, he once again brought the golden light seal and charged over. As for Lin Xian, he waved the 9-hell demon sword and used the dragon sword domain at the same time. Tens of thousands of sword chi turned into a rain of light and shot over. Clang! After dozens of moves, Lu Qianni was sent flying again. This time, his expression was incomparably ugly. That was because the golden light seal in his hand had actually cracked, crisscrossing through it. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air in disbelief. The incomparably powerful golden light seal had actually shattered. Lu Tiany's expression was also cold. He was very confident in his golden light seal, and even a 5-star king might not be able to shatter it. But now, a 2-star king could shatter it. This was truly unbelievable. Kid, I will make you pay a painful price. Lu Tiany's expression was ferocious, and his voice carried a biting, cold, killing intent. The one who will pay the price is you. Lin Xian's figure flickered as he quickly charged over. His time was limited, and he had to end the battle quickly. Golden light illuminates heaven and earth. Seeing the other party charge over, Lu Tiany's expression was cold. He waved his hand, and immediately the sky was filled with golden light, forming a golden sea that quickly swept forward. This was also a unique skill. Each of the golden waves was like a divine sword, sharp to the extreme. Even a 4-star king would vomit blood if they were hit. Not to mention, the other party was only a 2-star king. In his opinion, the other party was only relying on an Earth-grade artifact to have powerful combat strength. His own cultivation strength was probably not enough. As long as his sword chi swept over the other party, he would definitely be able to take the other party's life. The sky was filled with golden light, emitting a terrifying aura. It was as if the sun was shining in all directions. This light caused the people in the distance to retreat again, fearing that they would be affected. Lin Xian coldly snorted as he waved the 9 Hell Demon sword and used the underworld crescent moon break, directly tearing apart the void. A spatial crack appeared, like a giant abyss beast that connected to hell. Immediately, the golden light in the sky was completely swallowed by the black hole. What? They actually disappeared in an instant. How did he do it? In the distance, everyone was shocked, their skin going numb. Such a terrifying golden light was not something a 4-star king realm could block. However, Lin Xian had actually swallowed that golden light in an instant. What kind of technique is this? It's too terrifying. Even Lu Tiany's pupils abruptly shrank, and his expression changed. After a great battle, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. It was very terrifying. What? There's such a thing? What happened in the end? Everyone asked. However, the warriors sighed softly. They didn't succeed. The 5-colored crystal coffin is too mysterious. I heard that it tore through the void and disappeared. What? Disappeared? How was that possible? The 5 Almighties couldn't subdue it even together? When the crowd heard this, they were extremely shocked. They were simply too shocked. One had to know that this was an almighty being, an existence that could tear apart mountains and rivers. However, the 5 of them could not subdue the crystal coffin even though they worked together? That was too shocking. After hearing that, Lin Xian was also extremely shocked. However, he heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Fortunately, Dan Chenzi did not obtain the 5-colored crystal coffin, and neither did the others. In that case, he should be the only one who had the mysterious rune. However, he was curious about what was in the 5-colored crystal coffin. Why did it have such a strange rune? He thought for a long time, but could not figure it out. However, he did not stay there for long. After getting the information he wanted, Lin Xian returned to the sect. After another 3 days, the 2 of them returned to Danzong. Lin Xian flew directly back to his mountain peak. Then he raised his hand and set up a formation to isolate himself from the outside world. Now he had to be extra careful in Danzong. Other than not eating the blue wave pill, he had to be careful in everything else. That was because the sect master of Danzong was too strange. He had to be careful. After setting up a safe defensive formation, Lin Xian summoned He Tu and the Crimson Dragon. Then he recounted what he had seen earlier. The two of them were shocked when they heard that. They did not expect there to be such a secret. Rune? What rune? Why don't you use it? The Crimson Dragon asked. Chapter 1594. Then Lin Xian used his spiritual energy to condense the runes that he had obtained. Suddenly, the tadpole-like runes floated in the sky. This is Primordial Immortal Rune. The Crimson Dragon screamed. What Primordial Immortal Rune? What's that? Lin Xian was puzzled. It's something incredible. He Tu explained. It's a type of primordial rune. It's very ancient. No one knows its origin. Legend has it that it appeared with the ancestors of mankind. This type of rune is even called Immortal Rune. What's the use of it? Lin Xian was shocked. He didn't expect these runes to have such an ancient identity. Anything that was recorded by immortal runes was extremely incredible or a cultivation technique. Kid, I have to say that your luck is too good. He Tu sighed. Even the fourth-generation successor didn't have such an opportunity. He was indeed quite regretful because the fourth-generation successor of the Dragon Sword was brilliant and dazzling. However, he was too young and did not have the time to search for some ancient ruins. Otherwise, if he could live until now, he would definitely have found a lot of immortal runes. Of course, he placed all his hopes on Lin Xian. As long as Lin Xian was strong, He Tu would be happy. But what are these runes? I don't know. Lin Xian scratched his head and smiled bitterly. Indeed, it was like a beautiful woman standing in front of you. She was attractive, but you couldn't catch her. However, at this moment, the runes in the sky turned into tadpoles and danced in the air. Then they entered Lin Xian's mind. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Lin Xian's mind shook. Then he opened his eyes wide in disbelief, because these runes changed in his mind and formed words that he was familiar with. Finally, a cultivation technique with only 100 words appeared in front of him. This is? Lin Xian opened his eyes wide and read carefully. Then he took a deep breath. This was an extremely ancient movement technique known as the Heavenly Dragon's 8 Steps. No one could surpass it within 8 steps, since they had a cultivation technique. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon cultivated diligently and tried to master this movement technique as soon as possible. At the same time, Fengshan once again welcomed 2 uninvited guests. At this moment, the ghostly aura in Feng Mountain was extremely terrifying. However, most of the warriors had already retreated. Moreover, without the protection of the 5 Almighties, Feng Mountain had become an extremely dangerous place. But now, 2 figures tore through the void and arrived at the depths of Feng Mountain. The bronze coffin was broken open. Must be gone. The one who spoke was a youth with a handsome face. His gaze was deep and carried incomparably mysterious symbols. Yes, not only is the crystal coffin is gone, it is also missing the divine crystal. Another deep voice sounded. It was a middle-aged man with a tall figure. His face was even covered with metal-like scales. Behind his back, there was a long black saber that was as tall as a man. It shone with a cold light. The 2 of them stood in the void and looked ahead. Their red robes were fluttering in the wind. There was a black lotus embroidered on the red robes. It was blooming beautifully, as if it was real. A red robe with a black lotus. If Lin Xian were here to see this, he would definitely cry out in shock. This was the sign that his father had warned him to be careful. Who would have thought that it would appear here? Of course, Lin Xian was unaware of all this. Since the thing is gone, let's go, the handsome young man said calmly. Then the runes in his eyes disappeared, and he returned to normal. The tall, middle-aged man behind him nodded slightly. Then the two of them swayed and disappeared into the void. Time passed slowly. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. During these days, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon had already mastered the Heavenly Dragon's 8 steps. Now, their speed had reached the extreme. Even the Almighties might not be faster than them. If others knew about this, their jaws would definitely drop. The Almighties were peerless figures in everyone's eyes. And Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon's speed had reached that level. It was unbelievable. Even Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon were shocked. It was indeed a cultivation technique recorded in the primordial immortal language. It was too powerful. A few days later, the sect began to distribute the blue wave pills. Lin Xian also received one. However, when the people from the sect left, he destroyed the blue wave pills, because he now knew that this was definitely not a spiritual medicine, but a vicious poison. Once the blue wave pills were contaminated, it would become addictive. Even a 4-star king would not be able to resist it. One could imagine that the entire upper echelon and core disciples of Danzong were now under the control of the person who had poisoned them. If one day the person who had poisoned them no longer provided them with the blue wave pills, the entire Danzong would probably go crazy. Moreover, this was not the only potential danger. If that person wanted to order the core disciples and upper echelon to do something, he only needed to threaten to stop the distribution of the blue wave pills. No one would be able to stand it. Who was the one who did it? What was that person trying to do? What was he trying to do with the entire Danzong? Lin Xian felt a chill in his heart when he thought of this. He was now certain that the murder of the Niwa of Gojoseon was inextricably linked to this matter. Back then, it was because the Niwa of Gojoseon had discovered this secret that he had been hunted down. However, this was something that had happened hundreds of years ago. The fact that the blue wave pills were still being distributed meant that the person who had done this must be a very powerful upper echelon of Danzong. Otherwise, this matter would not have lasted for hundreds of years. Therefore, Lin Xian locked his suspicions on Dan Chenzi. However, even if he knew the truth, there was nothing he could do. Right now, he was no match for Dan Chenzi. Dan Chenzi was already an almighty, and he was not sure how many stars he had reached. In short, he was far more powerful than him. The only thing he could do now was to increase his strength as much as possible. A few days later, the sect's mission came. This was a compulsory mission for core disciples. No one could shirk from it, or else the blue wave pills would be stopped. Although Lin Xian didn't consume this type of medicinal pill, he naturally had to accept the mission in order to not arouse suspicion. His mission was simple. He had to investigate a person. The time limit was 1 month. Lin Xian did not know what mission the others had received. Because of the sect's rules, core disciples were not allowed to ask each other. If they revealed their mission, it would be a violation of the sect's rules. Therefore, Lin Xian did not ask. However, it seemed that his mission would not be too difficult. It seemed that he could only complete this mission first. Chapter 1595. The Eastern Wilderness was so big that it was unimaginable. One of the countries might even surpass the former Tianwu continent in terms of territory. The place that Lin Xian was going to carry out the mission this time was very far from the alchemy sect. Danzong was in the southern part of the eastern continent, and he was going to the eastern part of the eastern continent. If he had to fly there, it would probably take him 8 to 10 years. However, Danzong would definitely not let Lin Xian fly there. Instead, they would activate the teleportation formation and send him there. This teleportation formation was very mysterious. It could easily send someone from the southern part of the continent to the eastern part. There were even some terrifying teleportation formations that could teleport people between continents. For example, from the eastern wilderness to the western desert. However, this kind of teleportation formation was too terrifying. It required a lot of energy. Therefore, only peerless sacred grounds and remote antiquity families could use it. Lin Xian looked at the huge formation in front of him. He was shocked. The aura that rushed towards him made his body churn. The Crimson Dragon said, "Kid, do you see that? That's a super teleportation formation. It will open the gate and let us travel through time." After a simple explanation, Lin Xian understood. Then he and the other core disciples stood on the teleportation formation. Chuyu was there too. However, the two of them received different missions. In the next moment, the teleportation formation shone, and all the core disciples were teleported out. The eastern part of the eastern wilderness. The continuous mountains were majestic and majestic. Below them were ancient trees that reached the sky. It was very magnificent. This kind of scenery could not be seen in the Tianwu continent. At this moment, above the primitive forest, the space suddenly opened. It was as if it was torn apart by a pair of invisible hands. Then, a figure came out from it. This figure was naturally Lin Xian. After using the sex teleportation formation, he directly arrived at the eastern part of the continent. However, as soon as he came out, he felt dizzy. Even the spiritual energy in his body was a little chaotic. This was normal. This was the after effect of teleportation. However, he quickly used the longevity art and returned to normal. Then the Crimson Dragon's body shook and came out of Lin Xian's sleeve. The two of them looked around, as if trying to confirm something. Soon, Lin Xian took out a map and carefully compared it to confirm his location. Almost there. They were already very close to their target location. They would probably reach their destination in a few days. His mission this time was to investigate a person, and this person was a youth, only 15 years old, named Hong Yu. It is said that he will attend a stone gambling convention in the East. As for the specifics, Lin Xian didn't know. However, the sex request for him was to record all of Hong Yu's actions during the entire stone gambling event. Furthermore, he was able to detect Hong Yu's cultivation and talent. To be honest, Lin Xian was very confused about this mission. He didn't understand why the sect wanted to investigate a youth. However, after coming into contact with the other party, he should be able to find some clues. Lin Xian finally arrived at his destination, the ancient city of Hanyang. This was an ancient city. It was extremely majestic, and many experts could be seen coming and going. Since the stone gambling event was held in the ancient city of Hanyang, the number of warriors in the city had increased rapidly. It was a lively scene. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon paid the entrance fee and entered the ancient city of Hanyang. They were immediately infected by the lively scene inside. There were hawkers everywhere, and it was extremely lively. Even on both sides of the road, there were many warriors setting up stalls. Treasures dug out from the ancient cave mansion. I'll sell it at a big discount for only 100 times. Mysterious treasure map. You can obtain the ancient inheritance. Come quickly if you are fated. I have ancient cultivation methods. Young man, since you are fated, why don't you choose one? Lin Xian couldn't help but laugh when he heard the voices. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon walked and looked around. They found many good things, and they didn't hesitate to buy them. Lin Xian bought a lot of elixirs to refine elixirs in the future, and the Crimson Dragon bought some materials to make an array. At this moment, there was a sudden exclamation in front of them, as if someone had found something. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon were curious, and they walked forward. Sure enough, there was a stall on the side of the street. The table was very strange. There were only some stones of different sizes on it. Some were even covered with moss, and some were full of cracks. They looked like gravel rolling down from a mountain peak. Next to it, there was a sign that said, 500 divine gems for a stone gambling. At this moment, there were many people watching, but not many people made a move. Some people even sneered. Was this guy crazy? He actually sold a piece of broken stone for 500 divine crystals? Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. Along the way, He Tu told him a lot about stone gambling. This kind of stone gambling was very popular in the true spirit world. The origin of those stones was mysterious, and some were even taken from the forbidden zone of life. However, these stones looked like ordinary stones, but they contained rare treasures. Some might contain divine gems, and some might even contain divine gems or other ancient treasures which were very exciting. Of course, before they were opened, no one knew what was inside. And because of this stone gambling, there was even a profession called Seeker Spirit Master. These Seeker Spirit Masters had special methods to investigate the situation inside stone gambling. It could be said that the treasures they opened were much more likely to be found than ordinary martial artists. Of course, as for what kind of treasure one could open, it depended on one's cultivation. But generally speaking, every Seeker Spirit Master was an incomparably precious existence. Some terrifying Sky Spirit Masters could even find spirit vein, divine gems in the mountains and swamps. These people would be invited and entertained by ancient families and peerless sacred grounds. It was easy to imagine how terrifying these people were. Lin Xian asked He Tu in detail. These Seeker Spirit Masters mostly had special eye techniques or were born with special eyes that could see through illusions and search for spirit vein divine gems. Lin Xian was cultivating the martial Dao heavenly eye, which could be said to be a very special eye technique. Therefore, he was very interested in stone gambling. Let's go and take a look. Lin Xian smiled, and then the two walked forward. The stall owner was a middle-aged man with a 4-star king cultivation base. At this moment, there were many people gathered around the stall, but no one bought anything. This was because these stones were too different from the stone gambling that they had seen before. They even suspected that these stones were fake. Ordinary stones were used to fool people. However, Lin Xian felt that these stones seemed to contain a special energy that was different from others. Therefore, he decided to give it a try. Previously, he had killed many experts and taken their storage rings, so Lin Xian had a lot of divine gems. Spending 500 divine gems to buy a stone was something he could afford. Chapter 1596. Fellow Cultivator, I'll choose a stone. Lin Xian threw out a bag containing 500 secondary divine gems. Sure, go ahead. The middle-aged man took the bag and said with a smile. What? Someone actually bought it? Everyone widened their eyes in disbelief. Yeah, this guy must be crazy. These stones look fake. How dare he buy them? Is he a Seeker Spirit Master? A Seeker Spirit Master? I don't think so. Maybe he's just a hothead who doesn't know what stone gambling is like. Everyone discussed and shook their heads. They felt that they had been cheated by buying these stones. The Crimson Dragon was also a little worried. To be honest, even he couldn't understand stone gambling, because those stones had extraordinary origins and contained strange energy. Ordinary methods couldn't see through them at all. Some stones that looked very strong turned out to be empty after being cut. There were even some stone gambling experts who lost their entire family fortune in a single night. And Lin Xian was just a young boy who had never gambled on stones before. Could he do it? The Crimson Dragon wasn't sure. Forget it. Let him try. 500 divine gems isn't too much. If he doesn't get anything this time, I'll stop him from doing it next time. The Crimson Dragon made up his mind. Lin Xian smiled. After paying the 500 divine gems, he didn't choose immediately. Instead, he secretly activated his martial path heavenly eye. Suddenly, his eyes became deep. But this time, he controlled it well and didn't show any obvious runes, because he didn't want to alarm those people and cause unnecessary trouble. The martial path heavenly eye was a powerful divine power. Even in the clan of the ancients and the peerless sacred grounds, few people knew how to use it. And Lin Xian was very talented. He learned this divine power and even practiced it to a certain level. At this moment, the stones in front of him became hazy under the martial path heavenly eye. Suddenly, he turned his eyes and stared at one. This is it. Lin Xian nodded slightly and picked up a football-sized stone. Then he cut the stone with his fingers like a knife. Damn. So casual? Everyone was stunned. Originally, when they saw the other party's confident appearance, they thought that the other party was a seeker spirit master. However, who would actually choose a stone? This was too careless. These people shook their heads. They realized that this method was completely different from the method of the seeker spirit master. Even a real seeker spirit master would have to ponder for a long time before he could be sure. And now, this young man was probably certain in just a few seconds. It must have been a random choice. On top of that, the crowd's mouths twitched upon seeing the other party's method of cutting the stone. A real seeker spirit master would use a special knife to carefully cut, for fear of destroying the things inside. Yet the young man before him was actually using his finger to cut it open without any particular technique. Could it be that he's not afraid that there's really a treasure inside, and he'll break it? At this moment, everyone was sure that the kid in front of them was definitely not a spirit-seeking stone, but a hothead. Sai, with his methods. I reckon that even if there are treasures inside, they will be destroyed. What treasure? He just randomly chose it. It would be strange if there was a treasure. Everyone shook their heads, but they did not leave. They did not want to stay and watch the show. However, Lin Xian's expression was calm, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Under the martial Tao celestial eye, he had already seen what was inside. At this moment, his palms seemed to be careless, but the treasure inside was not damaged at all. His fingers were like knives as he quickly waved them. Soon, the stone that was the size of a football became the size of a fist. It seems that there's really nothing inside. Seeing this scene, everyone shook their heads and sighed. Some even sneered. However, in the next moment, they were stunned. Even their mouths were wide open in disbelief. That was because Lin Xian had cut down again. As a result, a bright light was emitted from the stone. It was like the sun illuminating the entire sky. What a powerful light. There must be a treasure inside. Everyone was shocked and could not believe it. They did not expect that the other party would really cut out a treasure. Damn. Who is this kid? He's too lucky. That's right. He randomly chose a treasure and found it. That's too heaven-defying. Looking at the light, I'm afraid it's definitely not an ordinary item. Cries of surprise rang out one after another. Then, everyone widened their eyes and stared at the stone in Lin Xian's hand. Even the Crimson Dragon was extremely shocked. However, he knew that Lin Xian definitely did not do it by luck, but by using the martial Tao celestial eye. Damn, this kid's talent is too terrifying. He can actually cultivate the martial Tao celestial eye to such a level. It was too shocked. Meanwhile, Lin Xian was still smiling as he continued to cut the stone. Soon, the bright light became brighter and brighter. It was like a sunset that surrounded the stone. Crack! After the last cut, all the stones fell down, revealing a crystal that was the size of an egg. What? A supreme-grade subdivine crystal. Heavens, I'm not dreaming. Am I? Everyone exclaimed in disbelief. They did not expect that there would be a supreme-grade subdivine crystal in the stone, and it was as big as an egg. It was definitely a rare treasure. He made a fortune. This kid definitely made a fortune He bought a supreme-grade subdivine crystal the size of an egg, with 500 ordinary subdivine crystals. That was absolutely heaven-defying. Everyone exclaimed, and their eyes turned red.